Okay. Welcome, one and all, to yet another episode of WhickTV, a cross-ideological space where we come together to talk about issues both political and cultural, from the silly to the serious. And today, a topic that weighs deep in all of our hearts. We are going to be talking about Warhammer 40K and Games Workshop. Recently, they made a tweet showing that they are releasing into the official lore female custodes, right? This has caused some consternation among quite a few fans who point to it as just further evidence that Games Workshop is caving to the quote-unquote woke mob. Today, we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about, has Games Workshop betrayed its customer base? Are female custodes lore friendly or against the lore? Or does it even matter? All these things we're going to get into. We got some great guests for you. And we're going to start with the man of the hour, Counterpoints. Give us your thoughts. Go ahead.
Oh man, man of the hour. Thank you. So you might see me slamming some tacos in the background. That's just because this is normally dinner time for me. However, I will try to be polite and mute myself. My name's Connor. I run a YouTube channel named Counterpoints 40K. In reference to this topic, this is not the worst decision they could have made. I don't like it. I think they are caving to the woke mob a little bit. It's not as bad as female Space Marines. It's definitely not as bad as female Space Marines being they were always there. That would have been a horrible entry. It's kind of like somehow Palpatine returned. So I think the entry is weird. I think the motivations are bad. I don't think it's the worst thing for the universe that could possibly happen. And as long as this line gets shorn up, I'll be okay. I'll leave it there for now.
We'll get into it, I'm sure, as we go. Thanks for being here. Really appreciate you. Next up, also the man of the hour, 𝕵𝖎𝖎. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Majin. You can find me on Twitch at MajinBMac. Yeah, I'm a huge 40K lore kind of guy. I'm here kind of to stand. I've been bouncing back and forth. There's a guy that was on the show that I agree with some of his lore opinions, but I'm also of the mindset of, hey, bro, this is 2024. Girls don't have cooties, guys. There's great outliers when it comes to strong women. Yo, everybody, listen, I'm a strong guy. I'm a bouncer and all this, but Amanda Nunes is fucking me up, beating my ass. You know what I'm saying? Holly Holmes does exist. There are very strong women out there, and the lore can reflect this a little bit. We'll get into deeper later. I don't want to give all my, my shots out, but yeah.
Okay.
Hi, guys.
Hey, thanks for being here. Really appreciate it. The third man of the hour, not to be undone. We have Real Radhom. Go ahead. Give us what you got.
Hey there, folks. I'm Real Radhom. Today I'm going to be working on painting a Custodes. It seemed thematically appropriate. Why is that not going away? Bring my face back. There we go. The writers have wanted to do this since at least 2016 with the female Custodes. Games Workshop has always been a pretty progressive company, at least on the side of that. We'll get into specifics later. Canon is something that's very loose in Games Workshop, especially when it comes to 40K. I do think that there is an element of this that was signaling not necessarily wokeness, but telling a certain crowd to fuck off, a certain crowd that they've already told to fuck off, as much as you can in corporate speak. I don't think this is the doom of the company, and I think this is a perfectly fine alteration to the lore.
Okay, thank you. And we will get into it as we go. Next up, the man of the hour himself, Admiral Gibbs. Go ahead.
Yeah, so unlike my esteemed counterpart over here, this is the first shot of the doom of the company. As we've seen from many other organizations, such as Disney, when they've come in and taken over Star Wars and just completely obliterated the lore. We've gotten things like The Last Jedi, which is just anti-lore, and it's just destroyed things. We've had originally left this thing that instead of having good stories like in Star Wars, they've just done things for the sake of being woke. And that's what's happening here. In fact, Custodes is just one symptom of the overall disease of wokeness that has proliferated throughout of GW since BlackRock has taken a very major stake in the company, and it is disgusting. It is sad, and men, we need to hold the gate because the woke mob of orcs is coming, and we got to do it now.
Beautiful. We'll see how this goes. Thank you for being here. Next up, first time guest on my show, but man of the hour, 𝕵𝖎𝖎𝖙. What do you got for us?
Hello guys, I'm 𝕵𝖎𝖎𝖙, also known as the Pontius on YouTube channel, not that much old, just 4 videos and 2 months old. Also creator of the page Warhammer 40k Heresy Posting, renowned for being a page created by and for gatekeepers. Also, my true name is Danny Fortuna, as it is known. Sorry if I don't show myself, but I'm renowned for being a mysterious guy, other than being the meme fun Italian guy. But other than that, I think that the symptom of Games Workshop caving and just giving out female custodians, they always existed, was just a way to pander and try to shut up the woke mob that is renowned for being extremely narcissistic. But the problem is with them that they are like tyrannies. Now that they have had a single taste of biomass, they will come for the rest. And because Games Workshop doesn't understand that you cannot please narcissistic people, now we will have to deal with more of them. And I will have to become even more aggressive in defending the lore of 40k. That is everything for 40k. Canon is everything.
Okay, well, thanks for being here. We got some strong stances, gang. This should be a great discussion. If you're having trouble getting in, or you feel like you're being talked over, please either raise your hand or send me a DM. I'll make sure you get in. With that, though, I'm going to open up the floor to general discussion. Have at it, gang.
Yeah. So, do we want to nail down the in-lore stuff first? Like, because
I would love to do that. Yeah, let's do that.
I mean,
Yeah,
it
can-
Yeah,
depends,
sure, let's go for that.
it
and then
depends on
like
where you want to go.
lore and then meta commentary.
Because
Yeah.
it depends on where you want to go. Because I did a little homework, guys.
Good.
You could go back to issue 99 of White Dwarf. There was female Space Marines. Okay, there's even models for them. I think it was what Gab. I pulled them up. There's even a whole article they were called the Sisters of, not the Sisters of Battle, which they identified the difference
The
between
Little
them.
Sisters. So you're referring there to the Little Sisters of Purification? The Little
There we
Sisters of
go.
Purification were in a fan magazine, not official Games
Oh,
Workshop.
damn it.
The
It had
original
GW
female
on there.
space,
No,
the
no.
original female Space Marine models were, as far as we know from Alan Merritt, were created by the sculptor to be female Space Marines, and were sold as female space warriors later on. They were never sold as female space marines. His explanation for why they weren't included and incorporated was just that they didn't sell well at the time. I know I'm on the progressive side of this, but I've also been into these trenches for a number of years already. So I thought I'd get that correction out of the way before someone else did
Oh,
it.
your homework got
Well,
graded,
yeah,
Majin.
no,
Your
no,
homework
no,
got
no,
graded.
I know, it got graded it.
Little addition. It is not a creation of Games Workshop. The lore about them, that it was in Sunstroke magazine. It was a creation of GDW, Games Design Workshop, that is an American company. Also, the models were never even called or labeled as brothers or marines. They were labeled simply as sisters. I have the picture even on my desktop right now.
Okay.
Okay, but I think we need to
Well,
decide
let me-
why this is important.
Sure. Let me ask just right off the gate. From a lore perspective, female custodes, does it fit or is it shoehorned in? Regardless of why they put it out, regardless of why they did it, is this a retcon or does this actually work with the lore?
It is a retcon, and it doesn't fit in at all.
It is a retcon, and it is a retcon that fits in. Warhammer is made out of retcons. It's retcons all the way down, my boy.
That's not true.
They
That's
aren't.
not unequivocally not
But-
true. For years,
true.
people have been saying things like the Star Child has been retcon, and we're seeing with the newer stuff that they go back to the well again and again on these old topics. People have been saying are retcon. So for someone to sit here and
The
go, "Oh,
13th
it's a
Black
retcon,"
Crusade was retconned out of existence. The 13th Black Crusade was retconned out of existence. Squats were retconned from abhumans to being gene constructs. Custodes
still are
were
abhumans,
retconned
though.
to all... Custodes were retconned to having always worn their golden armor. OG Custodes were mostly naked with studded leather
So wait,
pants
but
and a
how does that
gimp
disprove
helmet.
anything I just said? How everything I just said is
No,
still accurate?
You said
Hold on, hold on, hold on.
retcons.
Everyone's super excited
Retcons
to talk.
are
Hey,
standard and
we
normal
will
in
have a little
4K.
order. We will have a little order in this court. I'm gonna
But
pass it
everything
to.
you said is fake. It's fake news.
No,
It's
no,
fake
let-
news.
let-
It's
let-
not true.
I'm gonna.
Wait a second.
No, it's
Hold on.
true. All of these things got retconned.
Team
Guys,
Black
wait,
Crusade
Hey!
still exists.
I will mute the fuck out of all of you. Pontius Claw, go ahead.
No, let's just establish something. The concept of retcon is not simply going back and changing the story. Retcon is a concept where the new story you add goes against or contradicts what was established before. But it depends also how much it was established. If you go, let me do a stupid example. Goku being a Saiyan in Dragon Ball. It is technically a retcon, but it is a retcon that doesn't weigh nothing because we didn't know anything about him before he was found by the old man that was his father, Gohan and such. So after that series, you could add something because there was nothing before that. But if you go and just say, oh yes, female custodians have always existed, ignore that they come from sons of nobles, ignore that the emperor made them all males, ignore that he calls them men, ignore that they call themselves the brotherhood of demigods, ignore that they are always referred with male pronouns in every single publication, and the only one where they are
Actually, there's a
somehow
number of
represented-
publications that just use gender-neutral pronouns, including the 3rd edition rulebook and
there wasn't
What are those gender-neutral
the
pronouns, though?
9th
What are those
edition
gender-neutral
Custodes Codex.
What are
Remember,
those?
Custodes have only been an army for a very short period of
From
time.
7th edition, there was no lore for them back there. If they were introduced when there was no lore, there will be no problem. The problem is now there is lore. So retconning that lore brings problems. And in general, this retcon
And
goes
they
against...
wanted to make, the writers wanted there to be female Custodes from the point where they were introduced as an army. The
Okay.
only reason that didn't happen is the sculpts were already finished and
Yep.
only had
We've
male
already
heads.
caught you lying
Okay.
here from the get-go.
No.
With
Okay,
Hold on,
okay, okay. Wait a second.
Okay.
Even if that point is true, the point is they didn't. If they were introduced together with the lore, yeah, they are male and female, there will be no problem. The problem is that the retcon is happening after 7 years of their lore existing. Oh no, yeah, there were always women in the Sisters of
The
Battle. Let it be
13th
that for-
Black Crusade was retconned after over a decade.
It's fake news because we still have the
Okay.
13th Black Crusade. Yeah, it was retconned. They
We
changed
have an
the role.
entirely
Scum.
new 13th Black Crusade. Eldrad is fucking alive again.
Is it the 13th Black Crusade though? Because
Yeah,
it seems
but
like
Yes,
it's
an entirely
no,
new
it existed.
13th Black
Oh, so it
Crusade.
existed. So you just
Yes,
it's not.
okay,
It's
they-
not
Okay,
led
I
by
thought this would
Amnon.
be the easy part of the debate, but apparently not. Okay.
No, they retconned the event of the 13th Black Crusade. It is renowned, but there wasn't done many events explained for the 13th Black Crusade. If something doesn't have much lore, you can simply retcon
The
it. It is not
13th
a
Black
problem.
Crusade lore was more solid than the old Custodes lore that has been
Wow, we have the entire
slightly
Horus Heresy where they
retconned
have male
so that there
gender
are female
entire time.
Custodes.
So the entire
No,
Horus
there aren't
Heresy,
female
which let's believe
custodes.
there's no female custodes in the entire Horus Heresy novel series of like 60
They just
plus
haven't been mentioned.
That
Games
makes sense.
Workshop's
How?
official position on
Why?
this is
60
everything is
something
canon, not
that
everything
makes
is
sense.
true.
No, let's be
I'll
real.
tell you
That
what's not
position.
true is they've had women from
No,
yes.
give me a second.
Sorry.
That phrase, use it very sparingly because it was created at the time where CS GOTO was a writer for the world of 40k. It was created by Games Workshop as a cop-out to not say this guy doesn't know what the fuck he's doing with the lore. Just ignore it because it is not true. It is a cop-out created because they couldn't stay behind their own lore. But the point is, if I tomorrow
No,
go, oh,
it's
yeah,
a
Lionel-
necessity. It's not a cop out for a single writer. It's a necessity when you have dozens of, well, probably upwards of 100 authors now publishing dozens of books every fucking year.
Yeah, in which
It's a
they make
necessity.
Other
You can't
companies
keep
can
it
handle
all
it.
Okay.
constant.
Okay. I want to get some other people in on this, right? This three-way back and forth is fine. I want to hear Majin and Counterpoint's opinions on all this. Counterpoints, you have a pretty big lore channel, right? What do you say? Are female custodes lore friendly or no?
So I would say they're not lore friendly, but they're definitely not the worst offense that you could possibly have. So obviously, like female Astartes would be worse. They are different. Custodians are designed since birth, so they could be tailor made. So it's not as big of a stretch. One of the things I know that I brought up the lore first, but one of the things that I'm going to appeal to for my more chuddy arguments is the fact that they're redundant in a way. We have the Sisters of Silence, we have the Sisters of Battle, we have powerful female characters in various factions. So just making the Custodes female for reasons does feel like throwing the progressive crowd a bone.
I just don't think if it's one or two custodies that are coming through the pipeline, I just think this is just the outliers, right? These are just exceptional women that made it through. Like I know it's the noble's first sons, you know what I'm saying? But you're acting like we haven't had a Brianna Toff, or even in real life where we've had strong female combatants in multiple different sports.
Yeah, like
You know,
Mulan.
I was gonna go with real ones like Muhammad Ali's daughter. What's her name? Shields, the other female boxer. There's tons of women out here that's gonna beat us all up in here. Even if we all try to fight them at the same time, we're probably losing. You know what I'm saying? So I just want to say like, hey, bro, like if it's one or two, cool. All right. That's just an outlier. That was somebody that was a badass when they was a kid, and the emperor was like, "I
So,
see you."
in your opinion, you think there's nothing wrong with it in the lore. So Counterpoints doesn't like it from a lore standpoint, but you're fine with it. Is that your
Well,
position?
it's actually the lore I don't think is as bad as people are making it out to be. I think the thematic issue is actually the bigger issue, which is it's now redundant with a bunch of factions. And why are we doing this? Is the reason just
Yeah.
because we want to cater to a progressive audience, like updated for a modern audience? Because that's what it feels like.
Do
I want
we
to add to that. I want to add to that.
add to
If you-
that real quick, and then I have another question. Go ahead.
Well, so you can see this though. They've been trying to do this across the board with Space Marines. Even though they know that there's going to be a riot just with Space Marines alone. Like, look at the addition of Amara Star to you, like from the get go, right? She comes in, and before it was the Emperor gene crafting, the Space Marines and all this, and now they're like, well, we couldn't directly make them women at the time, so what we're going to do? We're going to make them have a woman creator, right? Then you have the
Don't
Emperor's
forget
sons.
Erda.
Yeah, but isn't
Sidebar. Yeah,
it funny how they made a female creator and then they had her screw everything up? Because honestly, what was
No,
GW
no,
cooking?
because it's baby steps. It's baby steps, right?
I know,
Same
but
thing with
like,
same thing with Erda, right? First we had the Emperor and his sons, and they were pure creations of the Emperor. And now we have this witch sorceress that came out of nowhere that's now the wife of the Emperor, basically, that's co-creator and scattered the sons to chaos and shit. And it's just
yeah, I love blaming women for shit. Isn't this a good update?
no, it's sloppy writing. No. As much as you want to say that, it's sloppy writing that's pandering to the woke crowd. That's like turning us into a Last Jedi situation where they're saying "fuck you" to the fans that have been here since the beginning and pandering to wokeness for the sake of wokeness. And it's bad and sloppy writing. And I mean, we can see this all throughout. Now they've confirmed that Lionel Johnson is named after a gay poet, and that he's the Rock, the place it's come from, originally named after a gay club. And it's the Dark Angel's whole story is a cover
Heresy.
as a cover for latent homosexuality. So like we have all of this stuff going in, and they're all like letting these things trickle down throughout, and it's just wokeness for being
So
woke.
that's stuff that was always there. The Dark Angels chapter is a literary reference to a gay British poet and his secret shame.
Yeah.
I know, yeah,
That's
yeah.
what
we
the
know.
Dark Angels. That's how they were conceived.
And I thought the Dark Angels were gay before that. So
Yeah,
Yo,
like,
we
did
would've
anyone
come
not
into
think?
my faction like this?
Wait,
bro.
hold on. Are we seriously arguing that it's more gay now that there are females there, and it was less gay when it was just the boys hanging out in space?
okay, so hold on.
Nope,
So
it's
the
Don't
Wokeness
listen
for being
to
woke.
if we want to get into thematic, because I feel like thematic might be the stronger argument. That's part of the reason why I wanted to do lore first. So thematic, it's like the reason why I don't want female Astartes is because it is about like brotherhood and paternal relationships and all that kind of shit. Like that is the story of the Horus Heresy is basically like brotherly and fatherly hatred and love. So like that's why I want to keep that like narratively and thematically pure, so to speak. And I don't want progressive random
Sure.
bullshit to get in there.
Well,
Now, do I think that Spartans are technically less gay because they have women? Maybe. but like I also I want my GI Joes, I want to play with them. I don't want girls to come around, and I like that they're asexual super warriors.
Well, let me
Yeah,
just
but-
ask. I'll let you go in a second, Pontius.
Yeah, no
but,
problem.
a question for Radham and Majin, who seem to be on the more. There's
Mhm.
nothing wrong with this side and things like that. Do you not see that argument though, that they wanted a story about brotherly conflict and the love between a father and son? Doesn't this simply just water that down? And if it doesn't, why not?
You can
Please.
make that argument. You can make that argument for female space marines, which is what Connor is doing there. The way I would phrase my argument for male-only space marines is, I see space marines as an allegory for the horrible things that fascism does to boys and young men. How it takes them, strips them of their personality, and turns them into violent tools of the state.
But
Now,
it
people
does that
can
to the
use that to
custodians
tell
too, and you
stories
are with
about
women for
brotherhood
that.
and yada yada, and I do see that the Horus Heresy is about that, but that's not the thematic core of the Custodes, which is the changes that's been made.
Which is why I'm not freaking out about it as
Yeah,
hard
well,
as
I
am.
want to
no,
let
no,
Pontius
wait,
respond.
wait,
I want to
wait.
let Pontius
Yeah, let
respond. Go
Pontius. I
ahead.
was about to
Yeah,
say
go
let
ahead.
Wait a second. Little thing though. You are saying that yeah, Astartes are what fascism does to boys, the wanting war for the sake of war, for defending humanity and such. Then the question comes out pretty naturally. Why do you want women in it? Custodians are bodyguards of the same dictator that made Space Marines and Primarchs. They are the bodyguards of the same person that put the galaxy aflame to conquer it, and because of him, the Horus Heresy happened, and
Yeah,
trillions
this is
died in
Warhammer.
his
Let him
Everyone is
let him finish.
horrible.
Let him finish, and you can respond. I promise.
Sure.
Finish.
No, everything is horrible. Okay, and then if you consider Astartes as much as a bad thing as, the childhood of fascism and such, why would you want women in it?
Well, let's just
Cool.
focus on Custodes for now.
You talked of Astartes, I'm talking of Astartes. Same thing for Custodians. They're the bodyguards of the guy that made the fascism you are accusing him of.
So the Emperor made the Custodians to be, or the Custodes to be, a perfection of what humanity could potentially be.
No, that's
There
not
is
why.
nothing in there in his intention. There is nothing in
Absolutely not.
there in his intention and what he does and what the Custodes are. They're a perfection of humanity.
No.
They're not just warriors. They're not just his bodyguards. They are artists and artisans. They are philosophers, authors, poets. They are a perfection, an apex of what humanity can potentially be. That's the narrative purpose of the Custodes.
Absolutely not. I disagree with that on every level.
No, wait a second. Even by going by that logic, the fact that Custodians not only were created for that, but they were pretty much the personal legion of the Emperor, and is pretty much order carriers. He used them as his own legion when he fought to save Horus against the Beast of Ulanor. 2,000 of them showed up, more than 100,000 orcs died, and only 2 Custodians were killed. So they were the ones helping him conquer rather than defending him, because they were the ones defending him when Alpharius even tried to kill him. But the point is, why in all of this, from all the people here, I have not heard of the context 40k comes from? Because everybody's pretty much focusing on, is the change good or bad for the lore, or it carries any meaning for the lore. But the problem is, and the same reason I make videos about lore, nobody ever seems to give a fuck about the context of why 40k exists. While Games Workshop might be progressive, Warhammer is not. The literal phrase of Warhammer is, in the grim darkness of the far future, there is only and only war. And other than that, forget the promise of understanding or technology. It is not a universe where you have Mass Effect kind of technology or advancement. Everything they do is driven by tradition and retrograde pretty much thoughts. They are so much attached to their own tradition that they will kill people just for suggesting to defy it. So in all of this, the same person that said those traditions, the same person that they all pray for, the same person that made all Custodians male, all Astartes male, or Primarchs male, because he feared that if there were females, fear that was true, by the way, with the Daemonculaba, they will find a way to reproduce and turn against humanity to conquer it. Why in the fuck the same guy will go and make female Custodians? And if he wasn't the one to make them, how in the fuck did somebody defy the orders of the Emperor to never experiment with augmentation on women to make them? Like, 𝕵𝖍𝖎𝖙 is already on a thin line with the Primaris, and if it wasn't for Robute, he would have been burned at a fucking stake. How in the fuck do they exist? Because the Emperor didn't want to make them, and the Imperium doesn't want them. They
Well,
want tradition. They don't want
let's
advancement.
pass it to the other side and see if they have a response. Go ahead.
Okay, so you've just spouted a lot of stuff there, and I just want to start off here. You quoted part of the universal intro text for 40K. That's varied a little bit from edition to edition. But you missed out. To be a man in such times is to be one amongst untold billions. It is to live in the cruelest and most bloody regime imaginable.
Okay, why it is
This is
progressive?
like
It doesn't go against my argument.
The Imperium. So you said that, like, even though Games Workshop is progressive, Warhammer isn't. The Imperium is not an aspirational society. It is a fucking horrible society. You also said that they are that the modern, by modern I mean the 40K Imperium, are following the dictums of the Emperor. No, they're fucking not. They're following the faith and religion written by 𝕾𝖍𝖎𝖙 that the Emperor fucking cleansed Monarchia for.
I wasn't
They are
talking
not
about
following the imperial truth. They are
I wasn't-
following a twisted version of what they think the emperor wants.
Yeah,
It's
but-
part of the tragedy of the heresy in 40K.
But I wasn't talking of the 𝕾𝖍𝖎𝖙 divinitatus. That is the point. I'm talking
Well-
about the fact that they did a thing away. They will always do it that way because they are used to doing it that way. It is why you
Yeah,
pray
but
at your Lord before
custodians.
reloading it.
But I'm gonna have to contradict my own alleged team here.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, so
Yeah, we'll get you in
the thing
after
about it
Connor
is
will
It's okay, Connor. I did that before. We're just keeping it even.
okay. The custodies predate what you're talking about, like the more brutal traditionalist society that isn't capable of learning. Part of the custodies lore was the fact that they're disgusted by what the Imperium has become, and part of the reason why they've done only secret missions and they've only come out for like the most existential of conflicts is because they are disgusted by what the Imperium has become.
It is
Well-
not the only reason. The reason is because they took pretty much an oath to defend the Emperor and the palace always. But the point is, the custodians might have escaped the brain rot that the Imperium has had, where they pretty much became an hyper-traditionalist empire, where, killing a person to recharge your own warp engine is seen better than just repairing the fucking reloading mechanism for the warp engine, because it is cheaper. But the point of the custodians is that they too are following the orders of the Emperor. No custodian would ever willingly defy the orders of the Emperor. And if he made them all males, and he never made a single female, and after he's gotten on the throne...
Okay, we got that in a couple of codexes where they said that it's the sons. But when it comes to like the male gene seed stuff, that's all in Space Marine codexes. So where are you where are you getting? You said that the Emperor is explicitly stating that he does not want female custodians. Where is that said?
It is not said, but it is a point you can infer from the fact he never made female Space Marines nor female custodians because they are a retcon, nor female Primarchs.
I don't agree with this because basically what Radham said. Radham pointed out because this is actually part of the lore. Hold on,
we'll get to you, Gibbs. I promise. You're in the chamber.
And the Thunder Warriors is that the Astartes and Thunder Warriors are not always supposed to be there. The Imperium is not always supposed to be at war, and what's eventually supposed to happen is peacetime in which mortals lead the society. And the custodies are the custodians of the future. They are the guardians of the future.
Aren't. They are not supposed to be there. Even in a recent novel, we got an explanation from Malkador. He explained that the future of the Imperium isn't for superhumans. It is for mankind. There isn't any superhumans.
Yeah, which is why the custodians are the custodians, not the leaders.
Yeah, and that's also not entirely true either, because under the Imperial Palace, there's like residences for the Primarchs. So the who is it? The like some of the Primarchs may have been culled, but not all of them. Like all the douchebag Primarchs that you're thinking of, that I'm thinking of as well. Some of those douchebags would have gotten culled, but not all of them.
Okay.
Maybe, but we can know. They never came to be. Like, the fact that Astartes, Primarchs, or Custodians still exist is from the fact that the galaxy is not secured by the Imperium. Is that the Imperium didn't win. There is the archenemy that is Chaos.
Yeah, but if the Emperor is building residences for his sons under the Imperial Palace, I think you can infer that he planned on them being a part of the future.
Also,
Okay.
you can infer from the fact he never made female super
We're
soldiers or
gonna
superhuman.
we're
that
gonna
they
get into.
cannot
I
be
promise.
female.
I promise. I'm gonna.
Except he did make
hold
female
on,
super
hold on,
soldiers because
hold
the
on.
law has changed.
We gotta get
Ancestors
some
are
other
The
people
law
in.
has been retconned
Oh my God!
for
Does the,
you, Radom,
hello?
for the people like you.
Hello? $5 from Testicle Johnson to say, I, for one, don't think there should be women Space Marines. Painting dolls should be left to men. Thank you for the $5.
Agree.
I'm going to pass the mic
Fucking
to
love my war
Admiral Gibbs,
dollies.
who's been trying to get in here. What are your thoughts on this? And maybe we can
Yeah,
go from there. Go
I
ahead.
disagree with Radholm's take on the custodians falling on it. That's not why he made them. He specifically says in one of the major Horus Heresy books that the reason he made them is because he needs companions that he can share his vision of the future with. Right? These are not supposed to be the pinnacle of humanities. Him and Malcador talk in several novels about how humanity is to lead going forward, right? And he even sets it up for the High Lords to take over, and there's pushback from some of the Primarchs and some of the other people from the get-go on this issue. There's pushback from the Custodes whenever he initially he did the Human Council. They even had a rebellion over it, kind of thing. Not the Custodes themselves, but the other people there, right? And then so he's definitely their bodyguards, his companions. He never mentions in all the Horus Heresy 66 books. They're always mentioned with male pronouns, right? So whenever you say, oh, they're gender neutral programs, okay, there's gender neutral as a pronoun as say like I said a tank. Oh yeah, it's a gender neutral pronoun.
So
That's
just for my audience's edification, and keep in mind this is a fan site, it's a Warhammer 40k wiki, so bear that in mind. But a quote in there from the Emperor says this: "These men are my bodyguards. Their lives forfeit to the guarantee of my physical safety. Of their loyalty to me, there shall be no question nor doubt, and I alone shall have the authority to stand in judgment over them. No other commander shall they have in battle nor in service. None shall bar them from me, and none shall hamper or stall their mission. So it is decreed." It's pretty clear in this, at least, that he's saying men. I mean,
Yeah, and so even in addition to that, we see, especially in the latest Horus Heresy novels, the final one, Siege of Terra ones, it talks about how Horus tries to get to him. One of the ways he tries to get to him is by actually turning Custodes like against him, right? And so he's doing this because they're his companions, and he knows it's going to cause him mental anguish towards the Emperor, on the psychic realm, which is a whole different thing, right? But I mean, so as for what Connor said with this little combat missions, well, there's another reason why they're not doing combat missions on a whole big grand scale, and that's that they're currently undertaking a massive war in the webway, trying to hold the door shut, basically, so that we don't have basically in their form the Slaaneshi demons, just like we have the woke crowd here trying to break down the modern troops of Slaanesh coming in and trying to trans things up. Like the newest call, people are just never satisfied, as Danny Fortuna said. The newest call I saw
So,
on hold on, the
Queer
newest
and
call I
trans
saw.
people are not actually discriminated against any more than anyone else in the Imperium.
Yeah, but just hold on
That's
here.
you inserting your modern bigotry.
No, I'm not
from
doing
their
that. Hold on.
ideology.
I'm not even.
Self-mutilation
There's
is
no
considered
bigotry.
Slaaneshi worship.
That is not to say. I'm saying on top of that, we're seeing all these different things.
Trans
happen.
people are Slaaneshi demons trying to invade the hobby. That's not a sign of bigotry.
It is not
never
a sign of
said
bigotry.
that.
It's an
Never
accurate
said
description.
that.
You see a lot of the stuff that Slaanesh does is very much in
Or
body
the
mutilation.
Drukhari.
The Drukhari is another example of
The Drukhari do it to keep Slaanesh at bay, in fact.
But
so all
ultimately,
Slaaneshi and
hold on, I just want to tap it on
This
something that
change
Wick
isn't
did.
Slaaneshi, this
Real
change
quick.
is Tzeentchian.
I got you, King. Anyways,
This
we on
is
the
the
same side
change
here.
of ways.
We on the same
Let's
side.
give
You can
Majin
hop in.
space. Let's give
Ultimately,
Majin
to
space.
what Wick was saying from that quote right there, right? We even talk about this when it comes to the United States forces, right? We don't go I guess now we do the women and the men, right? But it used to, even though we had female soldiers back in the U.S. Army, we would say the men of the U.S. Army, right? There's outliers everywhere, right?
well, they
Of
weren't on
course, we
combat
said,
lines either. They weren't frontline combat people either, were they?
but there were still women in the army,
No.
right? They're like, but
Not
still,
in special force.
for them to have
How
maybe
many
one
women
or two
special
women
forces do
that
we have?
I don't know. There might be. There could have hell. For all we know, there could have been.
No.
Right? There's not ever like.
No, wait a second. I have actually checked. In nowhere in the world there are women in combat units of special forces. There is
Actually,
support
that's
units,
not
they are
true.
not
Isn't
combat
Israel? Isn't there a whole like platoon of female like in Israel or something like that? Like, don't they
That's
actually have that?
That's part of the IDF, the Israeli Defense Force. It is not
Yeah,
special.
but
I
it's-
refuse to make this into a Palestine-Israel debate. That will not happen. Let's move away from that. This is not going to happen.
So I'm gonna pull us back in the direction we should be going.
Go ahead.
We don't know anything about the Custodes creation process. It is
know.
intentionally left. No, we don't.
No,
we don't know
do know.
anything about it. What do
Well,
we
we
know?
know it doesn't involve gene
no,
seed.
no, we don't know how it is carried out, but we know who and how. The Emperor made the process. He left the process to the people that
Yep.
came after him. But he was the only one, as I explained in my video. I don't know if many people here saw it because it is going a bit viral. But as I explained it, he was the only one.
watched it.
Yeah, glad of that. I hope you liked it. But
It was good.
yeah, he
Blaze
made
him
the
later.
process.
Go ahead. Finish your point.
He made the process, but he was the only one that could master it. He was the only one that could adapt it to any genetical code that came in. It was why, while it took to the Emperor only 200 years, because the Custodes were created at the end of the Unification Wars, or midway through the
No, they were
Unification
created
Wars.
before the Unification Wars.
Okay, yeah,
He
but
had the
I
Custodes around the entire time.
Yeah,
I
but
know
there
this is
were
a minor law
4 and then
correction,
2.
but
Yeah, I know, but no, but they were created during the Unification Wars anyway. I should read Valdor, Birth of the Imperium in its entirety. Anyway, and other than that, they were created, and after not only 200 years, they were already known as the Golden Legion or the 10,000 Sons. And not really the 10,000 Sons, because there is a legion for that, but the 10,000. And other than that, after he died, after he was entombed, after the war in the Webway, where the Custodians lost 9,000 of their own troops. To rebuild back up to 10,000, it took them the entirety of the story of Warhammer 40k. They were 10,000 again, only by the time the Battle of the Lion's Gate happened, after the creation
yeah,
of
okay,
the
so we know that it is a difficult and slow process.
Yeah, no, wait a
Now,
second. I'm not saying of the. Let me finish. I'm not saying that it is difficult. It is indeed difficult. The point I'm making is, if the Emperor didn't leave behind the blueprint to make female custodians, because we have never seen one in the Horus Heresy, in the Siege of Terra, in any of the books that is in that kind of period. So there is none. It is completely a retcon. They were always there. Yeah, they
So
were
just
standing.
because something hasn't been mentioned before doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
there's
See,
66
Belisarius Call, who
Oh,
was
no.
retconned into
retcon.
existence.
The call's been even
Yeah.
retconned. Hold on, this is fake out
No,
right
no,
here.
no, no, no,
The
no,
call
no,
has
no,
been
no,
retconned into the Horus Heresy novels, right? There are things that he's done in the same time period. We've never seen that. This is a total lie on their part, right?
No,
And
no,
as far yeah, all that's fake news that you're spouting right now. Fake news.
Let me explain a second then. Okay, we have never seen mentioned anywhere that the Custodes can be
No,
horses.
I'm going
Are
to
there
get
horse
back to my
custodians?
point. Thank you, Pontius Glor. I'm going to get back to my point because you claimed that we do know a lot about the creation process
but
and
you
then
did-
went
no,
off on your massive tangent.
You didn't actually let me finish. The point is,
No,
Hold
Hold
on.
on. Hey, kids, children,
Wait a second.
children. I'm
Let
the
me fi-
think of me as the emperor here, not on a golden throne, but on a fucking mute button. Okay, I will exterminatus all your asses. Okay, we cannot have this where I get to just talk over everyone. We have to at least have some semblance of order. I will not have this turn into the Imperium of Man. I will keep it in as the Emperor intended. With that said, we are going to let Pontius Claw finish. Then we're going to let Radham respond. And then I have another question to drive this. And $10 from Pondering Politics to say, Wick, tell Connor, I demand he publicly acknowledge the fact that 𝕵𝖎𝖎 is a cooler galactic emperor. Thank you for the $10.
I've said it before, and I will say it again. 𝕵𝖎𝖎 looks like a ball sack, and on top of that, he would be a morning snack for the Emperor of Mankind.
Beautiful.
True.
We're passing
I
it.
mean,
We're passing it to Pontius.
church.
Go ahead, Pontius.
The point I'm trying to make is that we know that the process is very hard. It needs to be very precise because it has a very extremely high chance of killing the aspirant. It was mastered only by one person, the Emperor of Mankind, that isn't around to make more custodians any longer, and he left the blueprints to the custodians and the genetists that came after to make more. But the point is, he was the only master. And the genetical differences between males and females, as a chemist with two degrees, I know what they are. And trust me when I say that if he didn't left behind the blueprints on how to make custodians from females, how the fuck will they make them? Because they don't know how to adapt the process. So how?
You are making pure presumption that it didn't work on women. Like, this is now your headcanon that it never worked on women.
We never saw any.
This is your headcanon. This is your headcanon.
It is the
and it's
canon
not,
until the retcon.
unfortunately, true or law.
Name one
No,
female custodian
they've
then before the
always been
retcon.
there. They have always.
Name
The
one.
law is now that they have always been a part of the 10,000.
Name
Now,
one
I'm
during
going to go
your
back
Horus
to the actual point that I was making.
Name one during
That
your
we
research.
don't know much about the Custodes creation process at all.
We know they are not
And
female.
we
We know they are not
don't know
female.
much about the. Please just let me speak.
No, sorry, I was repeating because.
Are you going to shut the fuck up and let me
I will
speak?
after the insults you threw me on Twitter, but yeah, go.
Okay. We know a lot, for example, about the Astartes creation process, and that has been tied to male only. We don't have that for the Custodes creation process. And the law that people are citing to go, okay, you know, it's always been men. First Custodes Codex, I believe, go past the bit, like later in the paragraph, where they're talking about giving up their noble sons. And you get to, the Custodes also seek out other suitable candidates by other means or encounter them by chance in their missions to protect the throne world. What is
Ninth
clear is
Codex,
that
none
none
first.
besides the Custodes themselves truly know what criteria they require. The fact that Terran nobles have a tradition of offering their sons doesn't mean it only works on men.
Okay.
Name one female custodian during your research.
Well,
I
wanna
wanna
address that.
They
move
just
a
did
little
this
past.
last codex.
I wanna move a little bit forward. I want to push this conversation forward just a bit. And just to ask you directly, Radham, right? You said several times that you agree that the current lore says that men can only be Space Marines, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Is that something that you would mind if it changed, or would you like to see it changed? Do you think Warhammer should be more inclusive? What do you mean by that, and how do you mean it? Go ahead.
I'm neutral on female Space Marines. I think there are ways that it could be implemented well. I think there are ways that could be implemented badly. There are a lot of people who really like the idea. People have been converting up female Space Marine armies since day one. Since 1987. You can find some old Hammer folks who did that. I don't think it would be a huge deal. I don't have a problem with it. I think the thing that's most likely to make it happen is the anti-woke culture war mob that Games Workshop has been very clear that they want to go away. Their shrieking and bullying is what's going to make female Astartes more likely to happen. As Games Workshop goes, how else can we tell these people to fuck off?
I don't think there's any issue. I mean, they've already created a way for them to do it with the Primaris. I don't think it's a big deal. Would I want it? That we got the the Adeptus Sororitas. I don't think it's necessarily like necessary, but if there's like with the new Amazon shit that's coming out, more people getting involved, because let's be honest, right? More people that are buying plastic means more for our hobby, right? I want more 40K stuff. I want better video games. I want, instead of the few little shitty shows, I mean, they're not shitty, they're absolutely lovely on Warhammer TV. Wouldn't it be amazing to have more series like, the Angels of Death? Like it would be dope. We get that with more people being included into it. I'm
then-
totally down for this.
Yeah, then just let me ask Pontius and counterpoint. Let me go to counterpoints first, right? We got to get you in here a little bit. Counterpoints. Why don't we want it to be more inclusive? Why would it be a bad thing?
Well,
Go ahead.
Number one,
question to put it like that.
So if we accept that there are safe spaces for minorities and POC and women, and sometimes it's nice to have a nice little space where you don't have to justify yourself to anybody and you can kind of do your thing and enjoy yourself, then we should acknowledge that men need that as well. And I think that telling horrific stories of battle and crazy settings that warp the mind about how hardcore they are, that is something that I think young boys and young men need. I think thematically it doesn't make sense. I think thematically, if you wanted to have female warriors, there's already factions that meet that. When you're talking about female pilots of Titans and Knights, when you're talking about female Imperial Guard, when you're talking about female Sisters of Battle, I think the progressive quota has already been met. If people insist on genetically engineered female soldiers after this, Then the way that I would like to do it is 2 routes. One, you already got custodies, so I would kindly like it if you took the dub and shut the fuck up and walked away. But then 2, I would like to see Sisters of Battle get a modest
Wait, do you think they
enhancement.
will though?
And then hold on.
No, that's what I was trying to
No,
bring up
I don't.
earlier.
I don't think they will. But I would like them to. And then
Wait,
also, I would
Just wait,
like.
Gibbs. Just wait.
But hold on, I'm not done yet.
No, I was
The-
telling Gibbs. Sorry.
The Sisters of Battle, I would like to see them get a modest boost, and then maybe an in-canon lore reason for them to be more tactical instead of more churchy. Because I think a lot of people are turned off by how churchy the Sisters of Battle are. I'll
Well,
leave
see,
it there.
this is especially watching a lot of video with like the like conversation around this, right? I hear a lot of people talking about POCs and there's already other ethnicities. We're already been woke in Warhammer 40k. We got Jagatai Khan. I hate to be the cornball to say he's fucking Vulcan, but Vulcan does look black, so I'm gonna just say Vulcan's black. We got
Celestial
Jonah.
Lions, Celestial Lion,
We
imagine.
and then the lion. We gonna make the lion black. We gonna get there, okay?
And
All right,
yeah,
that is
yeah.
going to happen, okay? But then we got Jonah Orion
just-
from the Blood Ravens in the Dawn of War series.
Very quick interjection, just because we are talking about retcons and things. Salamanders used to be just like of black skin tone, and then they got retconned to have a gene seed flaw so that they're all coal black. Please continue.
So, see, I didn't even know that. Thank you for putting. So they were black, yes, but there was also the Celestial Lions too. So I mean, Thousand Sons. Where do you think they got that? Come on, man. Egypt's in Africa. I think a lot of people are afraid of like the woke mod. They've already been here, and you guys haven't figured it out.
But hold on,
40K's
Majin.
been like
Majin,
40K's like Star Trek, bro. They've been talking about these issues from
But
since
doesn't
way
it make
back
the
in the day.
game and is the game better today for it or worse? Is it better or worse that we have more and more where they're focusing on things like, oh look, you wanted black people and women, here you go, without
I
improving
mean,
their
no,
game?
the retcon was they were already black. They changed them from being black. What Radham just said. They changed them from being black to like people with coal skin because of their genetic.
I was
thing.
about to say, fucking the salamanders have always been West African black in my mind, partially because of
See?
Hell's Reach, but also because
Yeah.
like having like I loved I don't know if you guys saw Pariah Nexus, but I thought Pariah Nexus was fucking hilarious because it was the perfect
I did.
opportunity for them to be woke and to make it a West African black guy, and they made him
they
a
made him
black
Asian.
fucking Asian. They made him
Yeah.
Asian for no fucking reason. They made him a black Asian. It was fucking hysterical.
Yeah, but going back to the topic for a second, because
yeah,
it
sorry.
was a single. No worries. It was for a time my turn. I find it hilarious that Radom talks about the bullies, the hateful of the anti-woke mob of the gatekeepers, when he's fucking friends with 𝕬𝖎, Cerberus, 𝕵𝖎𝖙, all spineless fucking people with block list on hundreds of thousands of people that have bullied and doxed people
shit.
because they didn't agree with them. Radom, you are really hilarious if you think you are the good guys in here. Other than that, I want to ask a simple
I'm
question.
very sorry that people responded to the bullying of the self-appointed 𝕬𝖎𝖙 mob who are trying to gatekeep people out of the fucking hobby.
You
I'm
started
really
this war, we
fucking
simply kept
sorry
fighting
if they
it.
responded in kind.
Oh, you responded in kind on Twitter where they cannot be fucking touched. Radom, you are a coward. You are here only because you didn't know I will be here. I asked you for a debate months ago and you never turned up. Other than that, I want to ask a question.
Check your
I think
DMs.
you like this. I
Check
think
your
you like
Twitter
this.
DMs.
No,
I was
saw the
doing
post on
full-time work
Twitter.
at the time.
You're welcome.
Good
Check
for
your
you.
Twitter
saw the post
DMs. I
about me being a
responded. I'm
fascist
down
and my
for the
group being a
debate.
fascist.
Well,
but other than
he's
that,
here
let me ask
now
a
in his
simple question.
defense. So
Good for him, finally. Other than that, I want to ask a simple question. Other than, the fucking awful
I see
friends
it,
he
good
has and connects with. When it is enough diversity? When it is enough inclusivity? When do we say, okay, we have enough? There were two single armies of males and females in Warhammer 40k before this retcon. It was Sisters of Silence and Sisters of Battle that were all female, Custodians and Astartes that are all male. Now the Custodians are mixed. Do we need the males and the Sisters of Silence
I
and
need to
Sisters of
correct you
Battle?
here because you are very fucking wrong. Sisters
About
of
what?
Silence are not a separate army. Sisters of Silence are not a separate army. They are
Then why do we
adjunct.
need
They are an
female
auxiliary
custodians?
force that fights along the Custodes. They are part part of the Adeptus Custodes Codex,
They had their own
and
codex
Sisters
in
of
8th edition.
Battle
To
have
the,
male miniatures in their codex.
To the question.
Sisters of Battle have male
Yeah,
miniatures in their
but
codex.
those are
Hold
not
on, hold on.
sisters.
Okay,
They're
okay.
Hold on,
auxiliaries.
hold on,
you
all
know
of you,
that.
please.
And
Yes,
To the
we know,
question,
but-
though. To the question, though, and the question that was asked, and I am curious, when will it be enough, right? Like, when do
Well, I
we
wanna answer
draw
that
that
question.
line? We will see. I see you, Gibbs. I want to hear 𝕵𝖎𝖎. He was asked a question. I want to give him a chance to actually answer the question, and then we'll pass it to you, Gibbs. I promise. Go ahead, 𝕵𝖎𝖎.
I don't think that 40k itself needs to change. And
But
I
yet
don't
you
think
push for
change
change.
is bad. Like, 40k has always changed. 40k will always change. This is just a part of how 40k works. I think what needs to happen from like a wokeness perspective is for Games Workshop to do some house cleaning, which they have been doing, to make it clear that people of all various genders and sexualities and ethnicities are very welcome in the hobby and in their stores. And Games Workshop has been getting better at that over the years.
Okay.
When has that been ever under discussion? When did you even hear about an incident where a person, female, trans, or black, was kept out of anything? When did you even hear about, I don't know, 𝕾𝖎𝖎𝖙 is a black guy here. When did you even hear, 𝕾𝖎𝖎𝖙, have you ever had experiences where you were kicked out of shops where, because you were black? Because people were racist against you in shops because you were black?
You're muted, brother.
No, I haven't had that, and not at GW at least. It's been very warm and welcoming.
It's a non-issue, is what he's saying. It's a non-issue.
I want to pass
So-
the ball to.
okay.
Hold on.
When will it stop?
I want to pass the ball to Gibbs. He's been really trying,
Yeah.
and we
I'll
got
have
we
to
got to
wait.
give him some more time. Go ahead, Gibbs.
I want to say one thing. First, we're gonna do lore collection. The Emperor talks a lot. This is one of the first points I wanted to make earlier. The Emperor talks a lot about how the suns might be cold. Maybe the Emperor doesn't, but there's a lot of curiosity even between the loyal sons whether or not they're gonna get cold at the end. So I don't know about building the residence under the palace meant anything. I think that's just more representation of power. As for the other stuff,
I don't think
what
it
is
would
it?
get going.
What is enough? That's the real question, right? We don't. It's never enough. Already today, the big push for change in Warhammer now is to make the Sisters of Battle trans. That's what the new push is.
You
to
get
make
that
all the
from?
sisters- It's all over. It's all over the Warhammer watch site. Just go watch it. Just go look on Twitter. It's a wasteland. Enjoy Twitter. It's fun, and it'll show you all sorts of good stuff. And
That
today
was
the big
discourse
push.
from several months ago.
No, it's new. It's back up today because they got their win. They didn't take the ball and go home. They're now going, hey, it's a snowball, and we're gonna roll it down the hill and turn it into an avalanche. That's what we're going on. And when we talk about inclusivity, there's lots of inclusivity they can still do. Sure, where are my Aztec Marines? I don't got any planet Quetzalcoatl Marines from anywhere. No, we're gonna sit here and do lip service to only hot button issues and go like do some crazy shit and just get this in just to like spit in the eye at people.
Because we're
It's a
better
bad
than
move.
you.
And then we're going to see all of it turns out. And I come from another franchise, Star Wars. We have seen how abysmally Star Wars has done since they've been woke to be just woke. Well, originally, Star Wars was leftist. There's lots of evidence of this. George Lucas was left leaning. All of this, when it comes out throughout history, you go and look and you see like leftist themes throughout Star Wars, right? Still, I enjoyed it. But now, instead of being just leftist, it went woke for the sake of being woke. And it's just been an abysmal failure. And you can just look at it. You can just look at it and see this. And maybe, yeah, we do need some gatekeeping because we don't need wokeism infecting 40K and ruining it for everybody. Nobody wins when that happens.
So
Wasn't there a Lost
companies
Legion
don't-
called Quetzalcoatl?
the
though?
companies that run IPs,
See?
don't like gatekeepers. It's bad for their bottom dollar.
No, it's not. It's
With
proven it's not.
no, gatekeepers are bad for the bottom dollar.
Once you lose your core audience, you lose your bottom dollar. That's the biggest issue.
Star Wars is still profitable. Star Trek is still profitable.
Not as
Doctor
profitable.
Who is still profitable.
Correction. The last 3 shows of Star Trek were a complete failure. Even Picard, the first season, was a failure. The second one wasn't. The new trilogy of Star Wars and some of the shows even are doing diminishing returns, with the first movie doing 4 billion, the second
Halo
doing
went
2,
woke.
the third doing 1, and the third one is actually considered a flop because it was marketed and made with more than $1 billion. So.
I mean, Halo went woke. Like, it's such an easy concept for a layup. Went woke for being sake of woke.
A lot of the profit from Star Wars does and always has come from toy sales.
Yeah, that they don't sell. You can see photos of Best Buy on $1 on the toys of the new trilogy. They don't sell.
Just a quick question, and this is to counter side, so counter 𝕵𝖎𝖎𝖙 and Gibbs here. Are these changes risking you from leaving the hobby? Like, maybe this isn't the line. But say they did come out and say that, yes, actually, Space Marines are female and they could always be female, and now you have to allow female Space Marines in your lore. Would that be enough to make you leave? Like, where's your line? I guess what I would ask for lore.
It is enough. I want to answer that because I'll probably be the least spicy while still saying yes. Yeah, it eventually will be enough. The reason why I don't deal with Star Wars half as much as I deal with 40K is because I love grimdark. I love the setting. I love the stories of fraternal stuff. So if I feel like that's something that I can share with my son, then yeah, I'm going to share it with my son. But if I feel like it's been feminized and pussified to the point that it's no longer of value, then yeah, eventually I will leave, and
Do you
that
think it's
will
actually
include.
close to that though? I don't even think it's close.
Custodes is not, and see, here's the thing too. Like I kind of want to push back on Gibbs's sentiment a little bit. Like, yeah, this could be this is like the canary in the coal mine starting to sing a little bit for me, but it's not existential. 99% of GW material still remains grimdark horror, gritty action, horrific violence, hardcore characters, well-written narratives. Adding female custodians doesn't change 95 to 99% of GW media.
Okay,
That's where I'm
same
at with it.
question same question to Pontius and then to Gibbs. Pontius, where is there a line for you lore-wise where you'd be just like, okay, fuck this, I'm done?
I don't think there is a line for fuck this, I'm done, for one simple reason. If female Space Marines happen, my attitude will do a 180 on the franchise. Be mindful. I don't mean that I would be on board with them. I will pass from, yeah, let's gatekeep to defend the franchise to let's burn it down. Let's destroy it. If I cannot have it, if the true fans cannot have it, I will see it burn down. Like, I am renowned for being a gatekeeper. Many people follow me, many people do as I say, even if I never use that. But my point is, I even learned the language I'm speaking now through 40K. I live and breathe 40K lore. The main thing that attracts me about 40K is the grim darkness, the fact that the universe itself is nothing like we are. We try to be compassionate, we try to be open-minded. The Imperium doesn't. The Imperium is brutal to the core. The fastest way is the way. It doesn't matter if it costs billions of lives. That means that every single good action that comes out of the Imperium stands out more, because this setting is a lot more destroyed in that sense. Every single good person that is in it is a unique gem that you can get attached to. In fact, my favorite character of the entire series is Dante, that is the chapter master of the Blood Angels, because it is a constant fight between being a knight, being an angel, and being a monster, like all Blood Angels are on the other side. But what I want to say is, the moment you try to infiltrate progressivism in 40K, you are pretty much just throwing even more gasoline on the fire, because 40K is not built for progressivism. They killed the alien, they killed the mutant, they killed the heretic.
Tauar.
And being called heretic in the universe of 40K is very easy. You can just say, I don't want to work for you. You will be executed instantly as an heretic, the moment you say that. And if you try to put, oh yeah, females were always in the Space Marines, they were always in the Custodians, you do some girl power characters like it was Rey from Star Wars, you destroy the Grimdark, because it tries to stay grounded in the idea that humans, like the rest of the universe, are awful. They are fucking awful. Where does progressivism have space in a universe where killing billions is good as long as people consider it good? Like, the mentality of the Imperium is that it doesn't advance, it doesn't accept, it hates everything different. So, why would progressivism be compatible?
Go ahead, other side.
Yep. I'll keep this quick, Admiral Gibbs.
Yeah, I was about to hop in.
So, the Imperium is a progressive critique of some of the worst aspects of humanity. Like, the Imperium is not an aspirational state. Most of the problems that the Imperium faces have either been created or exacerbated by the Imperium's failings. Like, the Imperium itself is not progressive, but it also doesn't have our modern bigotries. The Imperium doesn't care what your sex or gender or sexuality or ethnicity is. It cares how dearly it can spend your life
being
to
a
suffer
machine
and die for the Imperium. The Imperium has its own specific bigotries: the mutant, the psyker, the heretic, all of that. But like, the Imperium doesn't have like viewing female Astartes as being female Astartes or female Custodes as being a progressive decision in the lore from the Imperium is to not understand the Imperium or the setting.
One
No,
even
you know what?
one of the
No, no, no.
sayings.
Before we
Say
get
that
into
again.
it, before we get into
no,
it back
no,
and
no.
forth on this, I do want to hear Gibbs's answer. I didn't mean to skip him.
I do want to add to him real quick, because even to
yo,
oh my bad, man, I
No.
haven't said nothing, dog.
I know.
It's yeah, I mean there is a point. There is a point. Like as I've said with Star Wars, I don't know anybody that's got a larger Star Wars collection than me. I've had it valued like well over $88,000 worth. That's just like mainly books, right?
Jesus, I hope that's in your insurance.
Yeah, yeah, it is. It is my shirts. You bet your ass. I have all sorts of stuff. My house is like I'm a collector. I like to collect things. I have A&M paraphernalia, right? I have Star Wars stuff all over the house. I got
Except
the
you don't have
book.
an army.
Yeah, well, see, well, we're getting to that, right? And I have all these things, and I support companies with my pocketbook. Just the other night, I was talking to somebody, and I was talking about how Helldivers is doing so good, and I'm like, well, I would be willing to buy the Super Season back because it's so refreshing to see a company listen to their fan base and doing a game well, right? After I've had abysmal failures from companies like Halo that I love, I've gone away. I barely play Halo anymore, and that's my bread and butter. That's what I come from. That's how I started Twitch. That's how I got known in the communities. Like that's my like. I barely play Halo. It's been such a bumbling of a failure. Now that's not necessarily wokeism. However, the show has been wokeism problems. The overall, yeah, I support companies with my bottom dollar. I've been very much getting into 40K because I've said, okay, I've enjoyed the setting, I love it, and as Maja mentioned, I don't have an army. Well, there are armies I would like to get. However, now I am much more hesitant because I look and when first came out with Call, right? Everybody hated him, but they did pretty good lore on him. Most people like him as a character now. To me, Primar seemed like a money grab, so be it. But now that was one shot. You get your little pebble rolling. Then you get the next pebble rolling, right? Now we've got the instant. Yes, at some point you have to stand up now because it does reach this point to where people like me, which are the ones that spend the money, stop spending the money on the hobby, and that will hurt your bottom dollar, especially when you make most of your money from something that can be easily 3D printed. Like that's going to be something that's going to be hurting them very soon as 3D printers become more prevalent. And I think that if you get rid of your core market, which I know is what 25-year-old men or older, mostly spending their disposable income on this, and you push them out because you're doing stuff just to make it woke for the sake of being woke without any good writing. Whenever you have wonderful female characters all throughout the lore, like look at Beckwin right now, great female character, but you're going to shoe into female custodes just to give the woke crowd a win and spit in the eye of your main money base seems like a bad decision to me.
Okay. Now
Yeah,
Uh,
this
okay.
is something that the writers wanted to do for a good while.
They didn't.
This isn't
though.
just some fucking new pivot.
They could have
It
done
is new
it, they
pivot,
were
just as
stopped,
new.
and now they shouldn't have done it. To answer actually to the point of Radom about the fact, yeah, they are not progressives in our sense, but if you think adding female space marines to the lore would cause problems with it, you don't understand the Imperium. The addition of the Primaris almost caused a civil war. There are chapters that hate them. Majin plays one of them. The Dark Angels don't trust the Primaris. If it wasn't for Robute, they would have attacked them as mutants. There are chapters like the Flesh Terrors that have attacked them as mutants. There are other chapters that simply don't want them, others that never had them and don't want them at all. Simply put, it is an advancement that is seen as a mutation of the Emperor work, and the majority of the chapters want nothing to do with it. They are accepting it because it is their times, they need them, it is Robot coming and saying, don't be stupid, please accept my soldiers. But in general, if there wasn't Robot there, the Primaris would have been against the Firstborn, it would have been Horus Heresy 2.0.
Yeah, I want to point something out. So for instance, like the Qing dynasty, I don't expect everybody to be huge Chinese history buffs, but there were people who were trying to reform the Chinese empire in the late 19th and early 20th century. And what happened was the reformers actually achieved some crazy like positive things that were actually like seen to put China on the up and up. And then the traditionalists would basically like end up screwing over the progress. So that's where like what I would be interested in. So let's say that we have this progress with the Primaris, right? If you want to tell the story of how progress is difficult in deeply theocratic, fascistic, authoritarian nations. And as a result, it causes so many problems. That's potentially an interesting narrative. But if
It
you
is.
just go, somehow women returned, then that story is going to fucking suck. And I'm going to boo it from the sidelines. So you
And
have to tell a good story.
Yeah, like I said, there are
Yeah.
good ways they
Yeah.
can add it in the lore. There are bad ways they can add it in the lore. And I agree that, you know, some chapters would fucking hate it. Now, I do think that Pontius
Well, and I
Ghaul
would play a
here
sexist
has
chapter as well. I want to point that out. If they add female Astartes, I'm
Yeah.
just gonna be like, nah. Like I'm just gonna be like, nah, I'm sexist
Yeah,
chapter.
they're your war dollies.
Yep.
You can do what you like with them.
Yes, as long as it doesn't become canon.
But I think that Pontius has, at least to my knowledge, overstated how many of the chapters outright rejected the
lot.
Primaris.
Oh, no, it's
It's
a
a
lot.
lot.
It's a lot of them.
It's
It's
a
a
lot of chapters. It's more than a
But-
handful.
No,
I-
but
it-
I
there's
want
It's a
definitely
handful of
loose-
stories.
Hold on.
It's a handful of
There's
stories, but
definitely
we
like a
don't know the
lot
rest.
of no. There's plenty of lore out now stating that the Primaris have been a problem across the board. Like within,
But they're
like,
doing. But
Hold
you
on.
know, you and I know why they're doing that. They're doing that for narrative ambiguity. So if
Right,
you want to play
sure.
Firstborn, you can play Firstborn, and if you want to play Primaris, you can play Primaris. That's why
I
they're
agree.
doing it.
I agree that it's a
Yes,
money
but it is
grab reason.
still,
But
it is still
within
showing the reasons of the Imperium, though.
yeah, but within the lore aspect, I know from the outside perspective why they're doing it. And
Hold
I
on.
agree.
But Red
It's-
Hob
but
said
it's-
something that I'm actually really curious about. They're your war dollies. You can play them how you want, right? But that's not actually how I've seen it play out, at least on Twitter. So bear that in mind. This is all Twitter shit, okay? If you make a statement such as, I don't want my war dollies, right? I don't want trans people in my war dollies. I don't want women. I don't want any of these. They're all mutants, heretics, psychers, whatever. That isn't something that people just say, oh, okay, do with it as you will. That's not how these things are received, Red Hom. They're received as, oh, you're a bigot and you must be a Nazi. That's what's
Exactly.
And that's where you as a classic person should go, yeah, a little bit. I hate women a
said.
little.
What?
I hate women a little. I don't want women in my war dolls.
No, but I want to add something actually.
I
to
like
the
having women in
discussion.
my war dollies, especially in the hobby in general. I think there's been some fantastic female hobbyists who've done some really amazing things with paint jobs, conversion work, and there's some inspirational pieces.
One of the best painters I know works at GW. I ain't gonna say her government name, but phenomenal painter, hands down. Like, yo, I could sing you some stuff, Connor. She is phenomenal. Great addition to the community.
But I want to.
You go first, but I'll hold on to my thought.
Yeah, no problem. What I want to add actually is a little point that I had in mind, because as I explained, even with Majin, with his own personal experiences, there isn't really that much bigotry in the hobby as people claim it to be. Like, I am Italian, so by technicality it is a disability. I'm joking around a bit, but there aren't people that discriminate against you for anything. I'm the first, and I'm a gatekeeper. As long as we can agree that the lore has to stay consistent, has to stay good, and not get influenced by the outside. I don't care your gender, I don't care your color or the skin, where you come from, what you believe in. We are gatekeepers, we are brothers. But what I would argue actually is that the progressives are actually the true bigots in all of this, because all they do is change male factions or male characters into female factions and female characters. I will beat people up to have more novels and more models of female Imperial Guard, female Sisters of Silence, female Sisters of Battle, having more female characters of the mechanic. Throw them at me. I want them. I want more female characters that are well written and are good. But if you just go the cheap way of taking, oh yeah, this is a male-only faction, we cannot have men have that. Bring the females in it, we need them. That is the cheap way, and you are not even doing it in a good way. I will not love those characters. I will hate them because they are introduced for political reasons. Give me more female representation, that matters. Don't do like the bigots of the
As long as they're not
side
super
that change
soldiers.
them. As long as they're not super soldiers, because
But I mean,
you could
hold on,
be
but
Primaris Sisters of Battle and nobody would give a fuck.
I want to hear
regardless-
his because there.
Well, go ahead, Pontius. I think he was talking to you.
No. Simply
saying-
put, the lore is the lore. In the lore, they cannot be female, have good female characters that are not in their faction. They have their own exclusive faction. Bring more books with them. Bring more female.
You
powerful
said, I
characters.
do not want female super soldiers.
Yes, I do not want female Astartes or female custodians. You want to make
Personally,
There are female super
even
soldiers.
even if you get into
What
the
if
lore,
there was Gene Seed for Sisters of Battle, but it wasn't called Gene Seed?
Good, then,
Fine.
but you need a very good lore behind it. Bring
I
me
mean,
a
but
good
we
lore that explains
already
it.
have that. We already have it.
and
In
the
the newest,
Sisters of Battle are already super strong. They could pray away anything. A Necron blast hits them. They're saved because they prayed to
Yeah, but you
whatever
know
the
what
fuck
I'm
this
saying.
shit is.
You know what I'm saying. Belisarius Call says, "I want some big titty goth mommies or
they have that.
whatever."
They have that.
He
They're
rolls
Speaking
out.
of
even the
$5,
sister-
$5
He
from
even
rolls
Testicle
out with
Johnson.
gene editing, and he makes some 6-foot tall goth mommies in power armor.
Compromise.
They have
Right? Like so, Gibbs,
I-
you were saying they already have that. What are you saying they have?
Well, I'm gonna let Rick read his money first.
Yeah,
yeah,
$5 from
pay
Testicle
bills.
Johnson. Compromise, allow female Space Marines, but give them huge knockers. Everyone is happy. Thank you for $5.
No,
Listen,
that's
hold on.
indie shit.
So in the
Real
newest
quick, the
Belfarius,
Sisters of Battle, and I'll pass it right to you, Gibbs. Even in the tabletop, the Sister of Battles are still one of the best armies to own because of miracle dice. Like even if this is more to like the other side's argument, if there's people that get into the lore, they will find strong women characters throughout it. It's true to what Connor says. It's just not the Space Marines. It's just not the Adeptus
I mean,
Custodians.
we do, yeah. So they already have like the genetically souped up females, like in the newest what was it, the Renegades novel, Hero Master, right? Two of the workers that work for one of the like the dark mechanical characters are gene altered, like super beings. They're basically just your big titty muscle mommy.
Wait, hold
wild.
on. Are they chaos though?
Yeah, well, these
Dark
are they're
mechanical,
chaos.
yeah, they are
They're
chaos.
dark mechanical, but they're also.
Yeah.
But he doesn't have any warp stuff in him, right? There's other examples if you go look at like the Mechanicum novel, where they have some examples of like souped up
But
female ogrins
they're
and shit. There's
gonna
all
want the
sorts of them.
models though. You know
But
they're gonna
and
want the models.
then this is
Bring
the big
them,
one
make
that
them.
they do have models for is some of the Inquisitorius are gene enhanced themselves as well. So like. We already have examples in the lore of gene enhanced or are mechanically enhanced females that are on par, if not stronger than Space Marines in some categories. Like I would say, I would take Karina Greyfax over most Space Marines in a one-on-one, unless it's like maybe a named chapter master, right? Like, wouldn't you? Like, I mean, probably, right? Unless she was a
Radom,
mutant,
you're
right?
muted. You're muted, Radom.
No, I think
maybe
he's
maybe
talking to his audience. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
okay.
I mean, so I mean, like there are examples in lore that we
Yeah,
already
I just
have.
got a raid, so I muted myself.
No
Yeah.
problem.
No, and so no, I'm with you. I think though that so for instance, like the way that I would do it, I think that Custodes, I know you guys are saying that the progressives are not going to compromise. I heard you, I understand, I agree with you. I think no matter what, there's going to be some annoying progressives who are going to keep pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing, no matter how annoying or non-narrative it is, right? So that being said, if I was trying to solve this problem, I would leave female Custodes where they are because the truth is, it's a couple of head swaps. Who gives a shit? Let them fucking have it, right? Then, when it comes to trying to give them a power armored female faction, I would do Primera Sisters. Oh, Call came up with this weird gene seed, whatever. Now they're faster, stronger, better, whatever. They're better than your average guardsman. And then what I would do is I would come out with tactical kits. So a lot of the complaints about the models are the fact that they're very religious. They have the fleur-de-lis. They have these huge, weird, spiky pauldrons. They all have the white hair and the ugly faces. I would have the Age of Sigmar modeler do the faces, and then I would release tactical sister armor, and then I would call it a day. And then I would tell the progressives to go fuck themselves.
Can I answer to the 2 points counterpoint made? Okay, counterpoint made 2 points. One, less sexualized and less, church-themed Sisters of Battle, and the second, make super soldiers for the female factions too. Talking about the super soldiers, personally, I think having a faction of super soldiers when it comes to the female factions of the Imperium is a big mistake. Not from, from an inclusivity standpoint, but from a lore standpoint. For the simple fact that the Sisters of Silence and of Battle still are that badass, still can go side to side, toe to toe with Space Marines and Custodians, all the while being human. They are simple human. It is the best representation you can give when a woman, only through sheer effort, no shortcuts like the Marines, like the Custodians, can compete with those same people. Like the only good thing they have, like the Sisters of Silence, they are blanks. It is the only thing that makes them different from any other human. They don't have a soul, so they are anti-psychers. The Sisters of Silence, they pray a lot. They have a very strong faith, so they can make miracles. Those are already unique traits they have, but they're going ignored because Games Workshop doesn't give them enough attention to make people go, oh yeah, this faction, it is actually very cool. It is why I always push to have more models, more novels on them, or that have them involved, because they can be very interesting if well written. Just don't give them to Dan Abnett. He fucked up at the end of the death, part 3. But the second point about the church sisters and the sexualized sisters, there is actually an explanation. No hobbies for everyone. How the 𝕾𝖍𝖎𝖙 creator said, a game for everyone is a game for no one. These sisters are church-themed because they are the army of the church. They are battle nuns. They will display those traits, and they will display them because it is their fate. If you don't like them as a faction and that stops you from playing, don't play. Find another game. Why?
Yeah, but then that pushes them into bitching for female Space Marines. You got to understand that they're going to put their energy somewhere.
Hold on.
So Connor, my problem with
Hold
your
on.
proposition is that it
Hold on.
takes away the thematic identity
Oh my god,
from
you
the
guys,
sisters.
you guys can't stay silent for 1 second while I.
Well, you can make them fanatic if you want.
I could. However, I wanna talk a little bit on this because while this isn't.
Wait a second. Can I finish my point for a second? Because there was another thing. The armor of the sisters is sexualized because the church can have only females under their banner as warriors. So they keep the armor very sexualized to show that the troops are female.
Gotcha. It's a gender expression. Anyway, let me kind of interject here. Because I have seen this play out before in a much more niche hobby that I used to be involved in. I used to play a lot of Gemstone. It's a text-based role-playing game. Not a lot of people played it. I played it for most of my life, actually. Came out in the AOL days, and it even as far back as 2021, it was still going strong, right? Thousands of players. That said, I stopped playing, and one of the reasons I stopped playing is because of the changes to lore to make it more woke. One of the pieces of the lore in the story, right, was that the Dark Elves were, people were prejudiced against them. They weren't allowed in certain cities. They would get overcharged. People always hated them and thought they were bad people. When I made a Dark Elf character, I knew that was true, and I knew that going in, and it was one of the reasons I wanted to roleplay the Dark Elf character. I can see very many reflections of this in Warhammer. If I want to play an all-male brotherhood, right, that has only men, that wants only to do with these things, right, that's why I chose Space Marines, right? That's why I played the Black Templar. That's why I played whatever faction I do, is because of how they are. So when you make changes to this, such as, again, after the George Floyd riots, they made changes so that, oh, actually racism was done away with in Gemstone World, and now Dark Elves could go anywhere. It takes away the reasons I played them in the first place. If I want to play a sexist motherfucking chapter who only accepts men and only men, right, that's part of the thing. If I wanted to play in a world, right, where if I wanted to play a woman who is discriminated against in a sexist society, I rolled that up because of that, right? And when you take that away, what you do is you take away people's reasons that they started their army in the first place, or started getting into the hobby in the first place. So one of the reasons that I push back against this inclusivity thing is because it does drive away people who have spent, thousands of dollars on their armies, knowing that the lore was a certain way, and hey, they kind of liked it that way. Why are you changing it? Go ahead.
There is a little point here too, because you never see that inclusivity. Like, you don't see anybody wanting female orcs. You know what I'm saying? It is for whatever. It's female Space Marines. It's female custodies. But there aren't any female orcs.
Are agender.
Yeah, I think that orcs.
But I'm just saying,
they don't have agenda.
He's saying that you don't see the frenetic passion to change with it.
Yeah.
And I think the reason why is actually fairly obvious. It's because it's the poster faction. That's why.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
That's where I was leading to, but yeah.
Yeah, but you see, insert females in male spaces, but never insert males in female spaces.
but
I kind of want to do that sarcastically. Like,
I'll be back in a moment.
Literally, if I had just like crazy time and money, I would absolutely try to change the Hallmark channel into like a action channel, like 100%. I would be like, oh, you guys want to change all our shit? Okay, guess what? We're coming for weird fucking female spaces. We're gonna turn every reality TV series into an action series now.
So here's one of the things. Like, I understand that the people want more inclusivity in the poster child of the franchise, but perhaps a better way to do that was simply make Imperial Guard the poster child. Or another thing, there's nothing wrong with female Imperial Guard, and that's been the case for quite a while, right? Just showcase that instead. Just make that, and that also gives a benefit of
but
people
eight foot
getting
tall
more...
demigods of war. 8 foot tall demigods of war are always going to sell the most. Always.
Yeah,
Fair
but
enough.
Like
especially
it's a male
to
power fantasy.
hooking the young people in early.
Well,
I don't know about that.
if
I think
can-
it's a chicken and egg thing. Again, I have 2 armies, Black Templar and Dark Eldar, or Drukhari as they call them now. I have a couple fantasy armies as well. I have Tomb Kings and I have Chaos. I understand that the only reason I got Space Marines when I was a kid, 16, is because that's what they pushed on me. It wasn't like something I chose because I want this, right? Even though I did.
Can I address this real quick?
If I may
Because
finish,
actually,
once I finish, yes. So this idea that, it's always going to sell the most because it's a male power fantasy, I don't necessarily agree with that. I think that the reason, it's like a chicken and the egg thing. I think that they push it because it sells the most, but it sells most because they push it. If they gave that same attention to the other factions, to the Dark Eldar, to the Imperial Guard, if they give it to the Tyranids, if they give it to all these other factions, I think we would see a boost in sales, and it would be better for the game overall. I want to see better... When's the last time they updated Drukhari rules, honestly?
Sure. So let me address this real quick.
20 years old.
Okay, I want to make this point. So here's the thing. I think you and I and everybody who's in content creation we're slave to the algorithm like anybody else. And the truth is the algorithm points to...
Oh no.
Oh,
GW
they got him.
frozen.
They got him. GW silencing Connor. Oh, shit.
What about now?
You're back.
Okay, you're back.
You just froze for a moment.
Okay, so hold on.
He's been replaced by a warp
saying
demon.
the algorithm when you froze.
Yeah, so the algorithm, it rewards us for certain styles of content, and as a result, we are incentivized to do that style of content over and over and over again. And I guarantee you the reason why GW releases Primaris Lieutenants isn't just to fuck with us. It's because people have such a appetite for Space Marine models that they will buy custom models in different poses with different war gear just to buy it. So I don't fully buy into this. Also, but here's like the argument that I think that has worked best in progressive spaces is I appeal to their sense of like safe spaces, where I say men need a safe space. They need a place to tell male-oriented stories where violence is acceptable, where hypermasculinity is acceptable, where they can be completely asexual and focused on war. Like, this is a male-centered narrative, and
So
it's okay for it to remain a male-centered narrative.
The Warhammer hobby itself should be a male safe space?
Yes.
Not the entire hobby, but I think Space Marines should be, absolutely.
To make this point, to actually continue this trend, why is it a problem that it is a male-dominated hobby exactly? Because all of these changes, all this inclusivity, all of this pushing for female Marines, female Primarchs, female Custodians, it all comes down to we want to attract more people to play the game. We want to attract women, we want to attract queer people, so everybody see themselves represented. Let it be how narcissistic and fucking assholic they are. But my main point is, why is it a problem that the large majority of the hobby is males? Why was it ever a problem? It is a game made for males. It is an hyper-masculine fantasy of a universe at war. Men like fantasy war, because nobody likes real war, unless they are studying it. But why should it be a problem? Why would it ever be a problem? The only reason people are trying to be inclusive is to include more people that have no interest in 40k to begin with. If they had any interest,
So
they
there
will
are...
go other than, Space Marines all males, that problem.
So there are a lot of women who have had interest in playing Warhammer or Warhammer 40k, walked into a games shop, and then got treated really fucking sexist in really sexist ways by staff and punters, and then walked out. Some of them then later got back into it. You can find a lot of cases of this. GW has gotten a lot better with making sure that their staff are, helpful to women who come in.
Can you give us
to
an
shop.
example of that?
An example of that?
Sure,
Yeah, there's
of
been
a
few,
woman
like,
going
there's a
in
number
and
of
getting by
articles going
GW
around.
staff.
I actually have one of the managers at my GW store when I was doing my little back work for this said quite frequently when people come in there with their like girlfriends with their boyfriends, like boyfriends trying to get their girlfriends into the tabletop, right? And they'll sit there and of course, like let's just say they are space marines, right? And they'll sit there and they'll start beginning to tell them the lore. Well, this is a man only faction about this. There's only guys here. But hey, if you're a girl, here's the Sisters of Battles, right? But guess what? What's marketed to us and what's the cool thing, you know, even on the bag. I think I got one right here. On the bag, it's marketed to you got the cool fucking Primaris fucking space marine right there. You don't see the Sister of Battle. You see this bad motherfucker. You see, I think this is Titus right here. You see Titus, you know.
Well, that's why the
That's
9th
what,
edition trailer was shot the way that it was shot.
Yeah,
yeah,
I
but
love the 9th edition trailer. In fact,
that's why the girls get discouraged, right? But like, well, I want to play the guy in the blue, not this sister over here, and you know, the weird looking armor. Let's be honest. I hate the helmets for
Is
the
this
Sisters
is
of
this
Battle.
just
They're
a me
horrible.
thing? But
Yeah.
I've never started up a video game and says, "Oh, I can't be a guy in this video game. I'm gonna turn it off."
it's
right?
like
I've
I
never
have.
done
Raider.
that.
You
I'm
don't do
not.
that.
I'm not gonna play
Yeah.
GTA 6 because it's women.
Yeah, what?
I don't
maybe
make
it's just
female
me.
characters. All my characters are male. I like to play a guy when I
I-
play.
I-
Yeah,
Yeah,
that is a good
and
point.
no offense, there absolutely is like this thing where no offense to everybody progressive or whatever, but there's something where like gender bending seems to just be like, I want to be able to gender bend in everything. And I
Yeah.
swear to God, that's like half the fucking motivation
Like I
is they
have
want to
nothing
gender
Well,
wrong.
hold
bend
on, but hold on. We
in my
were
hyper
talking.
masculine hobby.
Yeah, we were talking. Sorry, this is my fault. I distracted. But we were talking about GW staff being prejudiced or sexist against women who are trying to enter the hobby, and I'm curious for specific examples on that.
No, I haven't seen it
Yeah.
any. Like I said, no GW staff has been there. The place here in Portland, Oregon, like I told Pontius, it's a lovely, great place. All three
also
of the
Portland.
workers.
Okay, that's great. You
True.
don't have an example. Does anyone have an example?
I think we can. The
Um,
reason why you don't see a lot of pushback about it is because I'm assuming in the 80s and the 90s there was women who showed up to the gaming stores. Gaming stores were and comic stores were primarily for dudes, and there was like you know how girls will wear band shirts and then a dude will walk up and be like, "Name the top 3 songs of the band." Everybody has that anecdote. Like we all just kind of vaguely know that probably happened. So we just accept it. It's not.
name all
It's not a
40,000
huge deal.
Warhammers.
I mean, I want to
Yeah,
address
name
what
all
you said
40,000.
earlier.
I've put an article in the group chat
Let
of
me look.
someone relaying their experiences first trying to get into Warhammer in 2015, with a negative experience with a Warhammer staffer who treated them very dismissively and flippantly and obviously wanted them to leave, and then a positive experience that they had in 2023 after the policy changes came through, which is when they managed to actually get into the hobby because they weren't gatekept by a staffer.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank
that
you.
is
I'll
not
look that
being.
over.
No, wait a second. That is not being gatekept. That is pretty much a low-wage worker because let's be real, it is not a nuclear plant. It is a Games Workshop shop. You still have thousands and thousands of dollars of merch of overpriced plastic. But yeah, I will rob it if I had the chance. But but anyway, the point is then. It is a problem not of lore but of approach of the people inside. This manager of Games Workshop could have just been a low-wage worker working, being stressed, and having his own problems. He could have been rude to every client. We will never know. We only know one perspective.
So
but even
these
wait a
kinds
second.
of stories are relatively common. I know
Common
a
how?
number
You are the
of
only
women
one
who
that
have
has any
had
of
these
them.
It's a
experiences in
10-year-old
the
example,
past.
though. You bring up a 10-year-old example, like how relevant that'd be
And
like.
I
me bringing
said
up
the policy and thus the culture has changed
Yeah,
in
I mean,
that
culture
time,
culture
and that's a
worldwide
good
has
thing.
changed. Like, yeah, culture worldwide has become like being a nerd is cool. I definitely remember, like, I don't attribute that to the Warhammer community or GW's community's culture change. That's a worldwide change. Like back like 10, 15 years ago, if a girl wanted to walk in and play Yu-Gi-Oh, they'd have probably been like,
Yeah,
oh, these dudes smell. It's not just Warhammer. That's where I wanted to touch on what.
Yeah, the proliferation of video game and nerd culture has been huge in the past 20 years. Absolutely.
Yeah,
See,
and then I want to touch
no,
on what Wick said as well. Hold on one second.
yeah.
So Wick brought this up earlier. You brought up he played Drukhari, right? I agree. There's so many factions that I think could even get an army, right? That we don't have. How awesome would be like a sloth army or Rangdon like army or something. It's all about how they do the marketing, right? And you can make these factions various, things throughout, like whatever, feminized, not feminized, however, all sorts of different ways you can take these, right? But there's so many models we don't already have. For us to like do this femstones thing is just such a slap in the face. Like, some models need redos. Like, Huron Blackheart desperately needs a remake, right? We like Vet. Does Vet even have a model? I don't remember. Like, but like he definitely doesn't have a novel dedicated to him directly. Like, there's all sorts of characters everybody's
All
asking
the
for, and they're giving us something that only a small minority that wants to blow the hobby up are asking.
I'm sorry, the
Remember,
only
it's
person who's
only
talked
one
about
female
blowing the hobby
custodes.
up here has been someone on your side.
No,
With a
not really.
petulant, if I can't have this exactly the way I want, then I'm going to do everything I can to destroy the hobby.
I
That
will.
was from Pontius.
I will. You are on the side that all the people that simply go, oh yes, there is not female space marines, bigots, Nazis, fascist. Don't make me laugh, Radom. Don't play this game. I can play it a lot better than you can.
I also I think Aponius hit on this earlier with like this high and mighty morality superiority. If you don't want this, then you're a bigot, right? And I see this all the time. When we look at politics in general, I'll be watching online, and bro, I'm so glad that I'm not a dim, because if I was a dim, my side would be chewing me up and spitting me out. Like every day, the wildest, meanest, most vicious people are leaning on the left, and that's the same thing that's happening here. They're like, we're coming into this hobby, it's your thing that you enjoy, and we're purposely going to try to change things for the sake of wokeness, without the lore, just to
People
spit
on
on
the
you and
left
piss on
have
you.
always been here in this hobby, mate.
Yeah, but
Sure,
woke people have inserted themselves forcefully in
wokeness
an
is
hobby
the
that is not
problem.
them, like gene stealers waiting
Woke
for the
is
pyramid
just a
eye flick
current.
to
It
arrive.
is the current term for a long-standing conservative bugbear, going back through fucking
That's not true.
SJWs,
Not true,
That's
not
not
politically
true.
true.
correct. It's
That's why I
just
brought
the
up Star Wars earlier.
latest term for the same bit of fear
No,
mongering.
No,
that's fake news. That's
it
why
is,
I
no,
brought
no,
up
no,
Star
no,
Wars
wait,
earlier, because
no, no,
Star
wait,
Wars,
wait a
it was
second,
always leave left,
no, no,
and
no,
they
no, no,
woken
no.
it up and just
Okay,
killed it.
Thank you for the
Gibbs,
gift
If we were
subs,
having this
Majin.
debate,
I want to
no,
hold on.
we-
Hold on. I want to because I know that Gibbs is passionate about this and Glaw is passionate about this. I want to give them both time. But if they try to go at the same time, I can't hear either of
Yeah.
them. So we're gonna go Gibbs first, and then we're gonna go to Glaw.
Yeah, I'm almost
Go
done.
ahead,
Yeah,
and
I
then
was
we're
just
gonna let
saying,
Majin and Radham respond to it. And counterpoints, you could just weigh in whenever. But go ahead, Gibbs.
I know Claude are the same side. I actually really disagree with this that Rat Home's talking about, right? When I go and look at something like Star Wars, which was already very left. Like we look at the rebellion was a left-leaning take on the American evil empire, right? Versus the Vietnam. That's why you haven't even had the Ewoks. George Lucas throughout is like even the prequels are like a talk about like corporatism taking over America, right? And like that's like there's all these underlying leftist themes throughout. And I love Star Wars. As a conservative, I love Star Wars. It was my favorite thing in the world. And now it's way down the list, and I like barely ever go get stuff in Star Wars anymore. When I was spending thousands and thousands of dollars on this every year, right, to get this stuff. I go to conventions, we do characters. I had a Star Wars wedding, I'm obsessed. Now I can't tell you last time I was excited to buy something for this because people went in there and instead of like it being a left leaning thing where left leaning people have always been there, Star Wars is even more left than Warhammer's always been, right? And so when I see someone go, oh, this is just conservatives throwing a namby pamby, you're touching our stuff. No, it's the style of it. We're being woke for the sake of being woke to spit in your eye. That's the problem.
Okay, Glaw, go ahead, and then I'll let that. I promise I'll let Majin and Radham respond. But go ahead, Glaw.
To cite why the argument of Radom is an outright lie, I will not even say it's wrong, it is a conscious lie. I will just cite some of the experience that have happened after the creation or the retcon of the female custodians. I have been sent dozens of threads on Twitter of women being against it, going against Games Workshop for it, saying, why have you done this? We have already female factions, we don't want pandering, we don't want cheap representation, we want meaningful characters that are on accordance with the story. The left, the woke, the gene stealers, how you want to call them, whatever name you want to use for this fucking narcissistic bunch, have eaten them alive. There were women getting death threats. There were women harassed in real life because of it. Even from people that Radom knows. 𝕵𝖎𝖙 was in the middle of it. Cerberus was in the middle of it. 𝕾𝖍𝖎𝖙 was in the middle of it. 𝕾𝖍𝖎𝖙 is renowned for being a leftist, being one of the good guys, and yet he goes around doxing people because he doesn't agree with them.
Let's not misgender her. She.
I don't give a single flying fuck
I don't know
about
who
your
this
culture
is.
on gender. He. I don't give a fuck about how a person that I don't know and I don't care about feels, and you
Oh,
should get
poor
used to
fucking
that.
𝕵𝖎𝖎𝖙.
Oh, poor
Just
fucking
use her
feelings
pronouns,
of...
mate.
No, I will not. Poor fucking feelings of a person that is not here. Fuck him. Anyway, the point I'm trying to make is
We're
that...
not bigots. We're not bigots. Fuck this trans person. I'm
No, fuck
misgendering
this
them.
person in particular, because
I'm
I
not
don't
doing
know it,
that.
I don't care. I don't know, I don't care. I don't have to care. I don't know the person. In fact, I hate the person in this case. Not because they are trans, but because they are an asshole. So I don't have to respect it. I don't
Cool.
have to
So
respect the pronouns.
call them an asshole while using their proper pronouns.
You're
I
so hung
will
up on the
not. You
pronoun
can
thing.
cry all day about it. I will not. Anyway.
Oh, I'm not
this-
crying.
Hold on,
These are-
let them finish their point, and then we can respond.
Yeah,
to that
piece it
conversation.
apart.
Yeah.
This is not the kind of approach you have from people that are here in a friendly manner. This is the kind of approach you have from assholes, the same gatekeepers that they are always complaining about, the bigots, the people that hate everybody. I don't hate anyone. As long as you enjoy 40k, I will have you as my friend. I don't care if you're a transgender, I don't care if you are black, if you are white, if you are Asian, whatever. As long as you respect 40k, we are brothers. When
My
As
you
long
are
as you're
battle
not
buddy.
Canadian, but go on.
when you are an asshole like Shea, you don't even deserve the spit I will throw on your face for what you do. Just because somebody disagrees with you and you go and dox them and then complain not even weeks later that you get doxed in return because somebody doxed him too.
I'm sorry that you are super salty about shit on Twitter, but that's not what we're here to debate.
No, in fact, we are here to debate how your side is made of full fucking assholes that devour hobbies. Sorry for that. I forgot the
No,
scope
I'm
of the
sorry.
argument.
Again, that's not what we're here to debate.
I mean, that's a little bit of what we're debating. Is
Yeah, a little bit.
what is enough?
We're not here. We're not here to litigate his problem with people on Twitter who aren't even me.
Okay,
Oh,
that's
yeah,
fair,
because
but there's
you call
still,
me
but there's
fascist
still,
on
we're
Twitter,
still
remember?
representing.
Okay,
a group that
so
want to do this.
I'm gonna throw a flag here because I don't know this specific situation, but I do think it's relevant to talk about the behavior of the fan base on both
the
sides
woke mob.
here in a more general sense, because that is who is responding to these changes and who the changes are either meant for or meant to tell, as you said in your words, 𝕵𝖎𝖎, the chuds to fuck off. So I think how people respond to that is fair game to talk about. So yeah. Go ahead.
Even
Are you
to,
done?
like, what
First,
Connor
I
was
want to make
saying.
sure
Yeah,
that
I'd
I want
like to address
Hold
that.
on, I want to make sure that 𝕵𝖎𝖎's done, and if he is, then I want to pass it to 𝕵𝖎𝖎
just-
and 𝕵𝖎𝖎 to respond. Then I will let counterpoints get in on it. Sound
Yeah,
good?
Let me
just
get
one
in
second.
for the 𝕵𝖎𝖎 because I know he's gonna hit this out
Yeah,
of the park.
go ahead.
No,
But
and-
make sure
ultimately,
Glaw's
I don't-
finished. Glaw finished.
Pressure's on.
Yeah.
I have just one single more observation to make. The leftist side, the woke side, is always the same one that says we are not gatekeepers, but if you don't agree with us, fuck off from the hobby. You are not angry at the chat gatekeepers. You are angry that you aren't the one making the gatekeeping. You are not the one doing it, and you are angry about that. The moment a new gate is erected, you will be the gatekeepers. Oh, you don't like female custodian, you don't like female space marines? Out, Chad! Fuck off! I am here saying, respect the lore, I will like you. You are there saying, oh yeah, you don't want
Well,
this kind of change in the
Now
lore?
you're
Fuck
arguing
off.
against the law, though. The law
So-
has changed.
The lore has been
40k law
retconned, has
change
not
is
changed.
constant.
It has been retconned to appease the
A
tyrannies
retcon
that
is
are
a
your
category
side.
of change.
Yes,
So-
a shitty change that I'm trying to get reverted. To
Okay,
bring
$10.
attention to.
$10 from 𝕬𝖎𝖎𝖙 to say I'm glad I sat this one out. LOL. Thank you for the $10. I do want to let 𝕵𝖎𝖎𝖙, the 𝕵𝖎𝖎𝖙 respond, and Counterpoints has something to add too.
No,
So
Margine, you go first because you were
So,
ready
yeah,
with
yeah.
some points.
So ultimately, just one real quick. Again, to what Connor was saying, this is not the canary going crazy, and the one or two female custodies can be explained by the lore. It's just one insert to be like, yeah, there was an outlier, right? This woman was that person back in the day where gender
That's
didn't matter. Where we have it, it's not that big of a deal. I do understand like the whole like fear because I've seen it happen to Marvel. I've seen it happen to thing where we have like other hobbies of mine where there is like they don't acknowledge like the wokeism that is already there when we're talking about powerful like well there's no powerful black mutants or superheroes like Storm hasn't existed forever who checks off both the female and the black she's always been there. I just our Blade or stuff like that. We always want to think like 20-year-olds want to believe their idea of woke has been the first ones in in the last 30 years, and it's just not true. I do want to keep the lore nice and tight. Nobody likes a bad story being told. We have watched like TV shows over the last 2 years actually get crushed because they went down this wokeism with Cowboy Bebop. Nobody likes Cowboy Bebop. Everybody thought Cowboy Bebop was dog shit, the Netflix adaptation. So I understand why we have these concerns, right?
Everybody.
Why we don't want to see it go like Gibbs has been saying it till he's blue in the face, Star Wars, right? But on the other end, this right here with the Femstotes, not a big deal. It's a nothing burger. Nobody should be upset about it. It can be explained in the lore. And hell, like I said, if we wanted to make female Space Marines, even though I'm not really on board with it, but it could be written good. We have the Primaris project, which would allow that to happen because Burler's Claw and Gilliman are heretics. They're big heretics. They're all for it.
Okay.
I think
Yeah,
Gilman
go
can
ahead.
get
Yeah.
heretic.
Well, I want to make.
is
I
one.
want to pass the ball to Radham then to counterpoints because counterpoint's been trying to get in here too. So.
Yep. So there's a general point I want to address here. This idea of, I guess it can be summed up as go woke, go broke. This just isn't true. Good and bad media can be made for, like, the things that make media good or bad aren't the absence or presence of progressive themes. Bad corporate decision making is often involved in making bad media. And bad corporate decision making can also involve attempting like weak pandering characters. Now, there's plenty of things that, have been somewhat woke adaptations that have been very fucking successful. The new Fallout series, the
Fallout was good,
amazing pirate
Was
anime.
Fallout woke?
Yeah, Fallout wasn't woke.
It had
I
a
think
female
Fallout was woke.
protagonist.
It had
A female
elements, but not
protagonist
really
Doesn't
is
mean
a
it's
black
woke.
romantic lead.
Oh, I don't want to
Do
distract.
you
But I
see-
don't want to distract. But I get
pe-
you. Go ahead.
people on the right-wing commentariat were decrying Fallout as woke, and then it got released and it was good, so they've backpedaled that it is not woke, that
You
it was
think
never
Alien
woke.
is woke? You think
Woke
Alien is
just
woke?
means
Annoyingly
if it
progressive.
came out today, it would be decried as woke.
No, it wouldn't. Not really.
Give me a break.
Yes,
Okay.
it would. I have seen
So
what
just
the right-wing
just for
commentariat
my
freaks the fuck out about.
just for my edification, then to ask this directly to Gibbs and Glaw. I'm sorry, Counter. I know we're gonna get you in. I promise, but I'm just curious. So, what would your definite? Why is this woke and why wasn't Fallout woke? I guess just so I can get a definition, so I know what we're talking about.
So it's the level, like the issue. So okay, when I say woke, right, I'm gonna use like a comparison. I think a comparison is the best way for me to do this, right? In Star Wars, there's a character named Moff Disro, right, in the expanded universe. This is pre-Star Wars, before I say it went woke with Disney, right? One of his characteristics, he was gay, right? But he wasn't like flamboyantly gay. Nobody knew he was gay until you showed up at his house one day for this dinner, and his husband comes out. It was just an aspect of his character. He was a very well-written character, right? And like he was a major character over 5 things. That's progressive. That's not wokeism, right? Progressive, like wokeism would come in here, would be like, oh, well, we're gonna shoe in this relationship with these two characters that don't make any sense at all, and we're gonna make them gay, and we're gonna just do it, and we're gonna put it as the front and center.
We're gonna have an alien dick sucking scene.
Yeah, or we're gonna have a person that uses 14 different pronouns as literally a character take over a super star destroyer with an insectoid army of some kind out of nowhere for one chapter, just to shove it in your face because that makes sense in the context of showing the greater galaxy. And it's literally an expert in a book about that has nothing to do with this. It's a like 20-page thing, just sidetrack. That's wokeism, right? This Femstones thing is wokeism. They're going in there and doing this for needless pandering for something that's
So
lore-wise
wokeism is when
Is bad
progressive
writing.
components
It's
and
bad
bad
writing.
storytelling. That's what you've said. Wokeism is
No,
when
not
progressive
really.
elements and bad storytelling. If it has
really.
good
Parts of it.
storytelling but not progressive elements, it's not woke. That's
But it's
what I'm
also- it's
saying.
also
This
within the respectability of
wokeness
the
isn't
lore.
what's
No,
destroying
there's a
things.
difference.
It's
Is one
bad
makes- no,
storytelling
one
and bad
makes
media
sense.
creation.
Let him
No,
finish.
that's one. Okay, all right. I'll differentiate here. One more. So, like another woke movie we talk about wokeness is The Last Jedi, and the reason why they do that is because he takes established lore and flips this on its head for the sake of progressive. Now, you can argue it's bad storytelling, but my point is the big kicker here is they're doing it just for the sake of like flipping off off the chuds, like you said earlier, which is, yeah, it is bad storytelling, but it's that third level of, hey, we're doing this just for the sake of it. Go fuck yourself. That's the third factor. So it's both the ones you
The
mentioned.
Last
and
Jedi was the best film since the original trilogy.
I'm gonna
Yeah,
I'm
What the-
I hate that
Okay,
statement
I
with
know I'm
my
supposed to be.
entire
Hold
mind.
on, I know I'm supposed to be a neutral moderator here, but what? Let's give the mic to Glaw to let Glaw. Same answer, Glaw.
No, I have a more
What's
elaborate
your
one.
difference? And then we're gonna go to counterpoints directly after.
Yeah,
Glaw,
yeah.
go ahead.
The concept of woke is not a concept of progressivism. Progressivism elements don't actually describe what a woke kind of writing and a woke kind of message are in a story. I have seen people call woke One Piece, for example, and I'm like, what the fuck are you guys watching? What the fuck are you guys reading? The concept of woke is not something like bad writing united to liberal points or in any case nothing that is conservative. The main problem of woke is that it hits you in the head with a sledgehammer of a message without justification or voice in the matter. Same thing we have seen with the female custodians. We could have had a novel that explained
So,
how
again, you've supported my point.
Hold on,
Woke
let
is
him
progressive
finish.
elements
Let him
combined with
finish.
bad storytelling.
Let him
let
finish.
me finish.
Let him finish. Yes, and then we will get to. I promise. Go ahead.
We have seen this with the female custodians too. The entire codex calls the custodies always with male pronouns, except the page where the story of the two female custodians is explained during the blood games. Why is this there? The entire codex doesn't acknowledge it as canon. The entire codex doesn't know how the fuck it is there because it is always addressing them not with gender neutral pronouns but with male pronouns. And instead of getting a story of how this woman struggled, made their way through the selection process, the training, how they were born, why, where they come from, instead of getting their motivation and their struggles, the good story that could be behind it, we just get the final message. Now custodians are even female. That
You're
is the end
proving
of it.
Radholm's point.
No, I'm not proving Radholm's point for a single reason. This change he made to appease the very loud minority of the progressive gene stealers cult. It is not a change made because they want to be inclusive, because they find that the universe lacks characters or inclusivity or diversity. It is a change made because a very, very loud narcissistic minority is on Twitter accusing them of bigotry constantly because they don't make those changes. So the company doesn't like bad
The
publicity.
writers
It
wanted
caves.
to do this since at least 2016.
And they didn't.
writer.
It doesn't hold any kind of value if they didn't. There was no lore in 2016. If they had done it then, nobody would have had a fucking problem with it. They have done it now. People have problem with it because it goes against established canon. And to go back to the example of Alien wouldn't be considered woke
Again,
today. No. Wait
established
a second.
canon in
give-
40k is a very messy thing.
We gotta. I understand that he's a little long-winded. We gotta let Glaw finish, and we gotta let the counterpoints go.
Like the thing about the example that was made with Alien wouldn't be considered woke today for a simple fact: the woman
because
in
it's
the
a good
story,
film.
Other than that, the woman in the story is not represented as an overpowered, bitchy, bossy woman made there only for token point with the deep story of a paddle just put there to be good at everything and best at everything, because if they even have a slight struggle...
You're just repeating his point. It's the bad writing.
No, it is the bad
But it's
writing
not just
motivated.
bad
No,
writing.
it is the bad writing and the motivation behind it, because the motivation is not a bad writer.
So
the motivation is the change is bad.
From my
And
point
bad
of
if
writing
I may, if I may, what I hear
Yeah.
you saying, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, and this is what I heard you say and what I heard Gibbs say both, is
Yeah.
it's when they make these changes for the intent to piss off conservatives in their audience is when it is considered woke. Is that accurate?
Well, I would say,
Well,
yeah,
no,
but
no,
it's
no, no,
also
wait,
just
no,
for
wait,
the
no.
sake of doing it, right?
No,
When there's like
it-
not a need to do it, and you go out
Yeah,
of
that's
your
what I'm
way to-
saying. They're doing it just for the express intent.
Yeah,
of.
yeah.
Well, it's maybe
They
not
are
just
the
doing-
chuds.
they
have
are
to be
do-
the
they are
only
doing the
exception, yeah.
change, and are writing it very badly, only to appease a very loud minority that would insult them otherwise. We have seen this with 𝕾𝖍𝖎𝖙, where there was a trans person.
Okay,
I
so
don't know
you're
the
saying
whole
it's
story.
to appease a group, whereas Gibbs is saying it to attack a group.
It's both. Yeah, it's attack and
It is both. They attack the people that the group hates, and the
Okay.
woke hates conservative. I'm not even conservative. I'm very libertarian, and I am LGBT. I am actually bisexual, but I don't give a single flying fuck about the feelings of anyone. In fact, one of my favorite movies, and I'm sure 𝕾𝖎𝖎 knows it, is Training Day, starring Denzel Washington.
Oh, yeah,
And
yeah. Najib knows
the
this
main
for sure.
the,
But go on.
the main character of the movie is a villain that
He
is
wouldn't be
woke.
wrong.
Yeah, if the movie was made today, you would have an army of progressive on Twitter going, "Why the fuck did you make the bad guy of the movie a black corrupt cop? Are you saying that all black guys are corrupt? Are they all criminals?
cooking.
Are they all bad people?" No, I'm just saying that this person is a bad person. And then after all of that, you release a version where the main bad guy is white. Then there is the opposite problem. You are not doing it because you want to tell a good story. You are doing it because you want to appease the people insulting you on Twitter.
Noted.
That
Yo, my
periodically
woke
Okay,
ass
okay,
is about to
okay.
make an
I
issue
gotta,
out of this.
I gotta interject because we do need counterpoints to go. He's gonna have a fit. Go ahead, counterpoints. Balls in your court.
Well, I'm doing okay because I'm actually murdering bugs by the thousands right now as we speak. So no, so I think that one of the things that we need to bring up that I wanted to make sure is clear, not necessarily in this conversation, but with anybody that I talk to online, is like we do need to scale our level of outrage. And also I think that like conservatives and men and libertarians and grown folk, we do need to scale our outrage. And what I mean by that is that what we're talking about is since 1987, a company created a fantastic science fiction universe, right? That's what happened. And basically what's happened since then is it's gotten a little bit more progressive to the point that we're uncomfortable. That's what's happened, right? Nobody's dead. Nobody is going to die. Some people might make a little bit less money, and we might all be a little bit more annoyed. But also, I think that we should be creative in our own rights. I was telling female Space Marine fans, last week to create their own 3D printed model bits. And guess what's going to happen if they push me out of the hobby? I'm going to go create my own fucking science fiction universe where you can be as sexist as you want and as racist as you want. That's the fucking plan.
But
So,
counterpoints.
uh-huh.
Counterpoints. This just seems to be another way of telling men that they can't have feelings, right? Or they shouldn't express
You're
passionate
right.
feelings.
We are not allowed to have nice things. Women and feminine men ruin everything they fucking touch. And Warhammer 40K and Space Marines will be one more thing added to the chopping block of men's self-sacrifice to appease feminine people that in nature they could absolutely fucking annihilate. You're right. We are not allowed to have nice things.
Okay. Gang, this has
I
been...
think that 40K is still a nice thing, and changing it will, like,
It depends,
as long as we
depends on
maintain
the
the
next few
tone
years.
of the law.
Yeah,
We'll...
but if the universe becomes progressive, it is not grimdark any longer. That is the problem.
Gang,
If it becomes noble, bright, and progressive and annoying, then yeah, I'll be
Yes.
switching hobbies
We've had
and making my own.
we've had a robust discussion on
I'll
this.
co-sign it, Connor.
We've talked, I think, on this from several angles. I have enjoyed the back and forth. I hope you have too. I do want to respect everyone's time, though, and we were coming up on the 2-hour mark. So thank you all for being here. We have some great things coming up later on. Next week, Wednesday, we're going to be talking about racism and wokeism in Dungeons and Dragons and tabletops. That should be fun. So if you have big opinions on that, reach out and maybe we can schedule for that.
I think there was 𝕾𝖎𝖎 that wanted to say something.
We'll get to it. We'll get to it, but I'm wrapping up. I'm wrapping up. Yeah.
we'll get close.
But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to give everyone here a chance to have closing thoughts and tell people where they can find you. So if you've liked or hated what any of these gentlemen have said, they're going to tell you where you can find them, and you can go tell them how much you love them or hate them there. And we're going to start with Gibbs, and we're going to end with 𝕾𝖎. Gibbs, go ahead. What are your thoughts?
You want me to do closings to end?
Closings and where people find you. Yes.
Yeah. So as for thoughts, this is one of those things. I like I said, I don't think it's the death of the. But as someone who's come from a hobby that I think is dying, and I've seen it die before my eyes, and something I care about greatly, I see the same changes happening here. This is even like even when we look at things like what 𝕾𝖎𝖎𝖙 was saying, we could pick women like Holly Holm or Ronda Rousey
Amanda
or
Nunes.
Anna Nunes. Even at their own weight class, they wouldn't even be top 15, top 20. And if the custodes are only 10,000, universe wide, not adding up mathematically for me to believe that genetically, even by Monda's point. So as far as the other things, you got to pick where the gate needs to be at some point before you have a crisis of identity within a hobby. And I think this is probably we need to start doing it because this is like back to back wokeness things coming to fruition. And luckily, with one of them, the lore got better. And this one, I don't see the lore improve. I see it getting worse, especially now that the horse is finished. However, that being said, my name is Admiral Gibbs. You can find me everywhere as Admiral Gibbs. If you like politics and you like arguing, we'll be doing more arguing later tonight on my shit. And basically, if you don't like that, I do drunk and degenerate shit as well. So either way, you're getting all the fun stuff covered at Admiral Gibbs.
Check him out,
Thank
gang.
you
Thank
for
you
having
for
me.
being here. Give him a follow. Counterpoints. What you got?
Yeah. So what I would say is men are not allowed to have nice things, and sometimes they get ruined by women and minorities. It's okay. It happens. So we're gonna create our own Warhammer 40K. We'll call it Warhammer 50K, and we'll make it as racist and sexist and filled
Not
with
to
as
me, it's
many
42 millions.
exclusively male superhumans as we possibly can, and they will all be asexual and not interested in titties, and they will only be interested in war. That is my game plan. So, no, but in all seriousness, like I think the reason why we're here is because we are passionate about it. We do love it. We do love our 10-foot tall demigods of war. We do love our grim, dark science fiction, science fantasy. We do love all this kind of stuff. And if you're into that kind of stuff, then typing counterpoints 40K into your YouTube search bar. You'll be able to find me there. My Twitter is also linked there. And basically, I break down grim, dark science fiction and science fantasy. And what I've actually done recently is I created a unified timeline. I took Predator, I took Aliens, I took Prometheus, I took The Expanse, I took Halo, I took Gears of War, and I combined all of those science fiction narratives into a single, coherent, logical chronology that acts as a Warhammer prehistory. And since Games Workshop is not releasing enough animations for me to break down, I am going to start breaking down those universes as well. One more cool thing before I dip out. Up here is a 72 caliber bolter that I made with a Rock Island VRF 14 and 3D printing. I will be shooting that this Friday, and I will be releasing a video about a real life bolter that I built that if you are into firearms and into science fiction, you can build yourself. And from there, I will be building more science fiction weapons for you to hurt yourself with at home. Not like literally, but just like, play with and get hurt in the fun way.
Gang,
fear
I have
this
seen his
video
bolter
will
in
be used in
action.
a trial.
It is chef's kiss. I can't
It
wait to see the further clips, further videos. Gang, check him out if you want to see more of what he has to say. Next up, 𝕵𝖎𝖎𝖙. Go ahead.
Hey, all right. So, my name is 𝕵𝖎𝖎𝖙𝖘𝍍𝖔𝖜. You can find me on Twitter under 𝕵𝖎𝖎𝖙𝖘𝍍𝖔𝖜. Most of y'all just know me as Majin. That's preferred. But yeah, my closing statements on this is kind of go off with Gibbs. Gibbs saying that if Amanda Nunes or anybody like that would go in, she is definitely beating Ricky Simon, right? She's definitely beating 𝕾𝖍𝖎𝖙𝖘𝍍𝖔𝖜, okay? An even bigger name, all right? There are definitely outliers out there, which Amanda Nunes can go in there and handle. Um, Again, I'm all for minor changes if it can be explained by lore. Good writing is good writing. Hell, like I said, I'm all for making Lionel Johnson, all right, a black man, all right? That's how I'm even painting my miniature. He is going to be a man of color because there is no white man out there with the name Lionel Johnson, okay? I promise you this, all right? Anyways, but yeah, so look me up on Twitter. Y'all have a beautiful and blessed day.
Check him out, gang. Thank you for being here. Really appreciate you.
No problem.
𝕵𝖎𝖎𝖏, go ahead.
All right, I am 𝕵𝖎𝖏. I stream on Twitch where I paint miniatures while covering politics and picking apart conspiracy theories. Got a background in circus, burlesque, all of that stuff. Let's bring my face back here. There we go. Oh, nope, that's not bringing my face back. Wrong button. There we are. Fantastic. Law changes are common in 40k. 40k canon is a very loose thing. Not everything that is stated in canon is true. You can find quotes from authors and game designers, including Rick Priestley, on this very fact. Female custodies does not destroy the law. It's not the end of the hobby. And if the conservative side of this don't want there to be female space marines, my suggestion would be to stop trying to gatekeep and stop being so odious, because the most likely thing to make Games Workshop put female space marines in is as an unequivocal fuck off.
Gang, check him out. Thank you for being here. Really appreciate your contributions. We really appreciate your opinion. Give him a follow, gang. He's great. Last, certainly not least, 𝕵𝖔𝖎𝖙𝖘𝖍𝖔𝖜. Give us what you got.
Hey guys, I'm Danny Fortuna, the owner and creator of the Facebook group Warhammer 40k Heresy Posting, in which I think both 𝕵𝖔𝖎𝖙 and 𝕾𝖍𝖎𝖙, I know 𝕾𝖍𝖎𝖙 is, but maybe even 𝕵𝖔𝖎𝖙 is in too. The most based memes on 40k, where people that get their feelings hurt easily get banned when they have meltdowns about it, because we are there to laugh, not to cry, and everybody's fair game, no matter who they are. Always remember to be accepting to your fellow hobbyists, no matter their skin color, their gender, their identity, or what they believe in, as long as we all like the same thing. Canon is the most important thing because it defines what we all like and what we all can talk about. You also find me on YouTube under the name 𝕵𝖍𝖎𝖙𝖘𝖍𝖔𝖜, or you can just look for the most recent video that is called Why Female Custodies Can't Exist. It is the channel with the little ugly yellow guy on the cover. I am a lore master of various years. 40k has saved my life. Think I got actually mocked by one of the woke side for a little game saved your life because you were depressed and wanted to end it in Minecraft, and I got mocked for it from the woke side.
I just want to
It's
say
a closing.
no one should mock you
Hey,
for
it's
that.
a closing statement,
Yeah.
so we can't
Yeah.
have back and
No,
forth.
no.
Go ahead. Finish your thing.
I agree with that. I appreciate that you are saying it, but it happened all the same. I think that lore should always be the center and focus of the story of 40k because it explains why we should be attached to the toys we buy. Other than that, come check me out on YouTube, come join the Facebook group, and I hope you have good memes stashed, because beating my memes is very hard because I can be offensive against myself as much as everybody else.
Well, thank you for being here. You were great and wonderful. Gang, check him out. Sign up for his Facebook group, but make sure you bring the memes, as he said. Gang, this has been great watching nerds fight for our amusement. Haven't you enjoyed it? If you've liked this show, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, throw me your money so I can keep doing things from like this. We got some great shows coming up for you next week. We're going to talk about harassment and social media. We're going to talk about weaponization of the DOJ. We're going to talk about all these things. It's going to be fun. And don't forget, on Wednesday, we're having another nerd fight, but it's going to be in D&D. It's going to be fun. So we're going to raid out. Wait, bye-bye, everyone. Bye-bye. Bye. Bye.
Later.
Bye.
Adios. Hey, Claw, send me an invite to your
Okay.
Discord. One of the people that are in my Discord
All right,
was
wait,
a
next time you be good. Thanks for
Later,
having me.
Wick.
Bye, guys.